Morning arrives slowly across a tropical reef, where shafts of sunlight filter through clear ocean water and scatter across coral towers that rise like ancient cities from the seabed. The reef is alive with motion. Schools of small fish weave between branching corals, parrotfish scrape limestone with grinding beaks, and clouds of plankton drift in invisible currents that carry nutrients through this underwater landscape. At first glance, the environment appears peaceful, almost leisurely, yet beneath the calm surface, the reef is an arena shaped by relentless competition. Every crevice hides a hunter. Every shell protects a life that must constantly defend itself against predators with sharper teeth, faster reflexes, or stronger jaws. Survival here is not only about strength, it is about innovation. And few creatures on Earth embody biological innovation as dramatically as the mantis shrimp. Somewhere between fragments of coral rubble, an opening in the reef floor reveals a narrow tunnel carved carefully into the sand and rock. This burrow belongs to a mantis shrimp, an animal whose appearance alone suggests that evolution has taken an experimental turn. Its body resembles a cross between a lobster and an armored insect, segmented and flexible, covered with plates that shimmer in metallic greens, reds, and blues. Two stalked eyes protrude from the head like periscopes, constantly rotating and scanning the surrounding water with a precision unmatched in the animal kingdom. Beneath the head lie the weapons that define this animal's reputation. A pair of raptorial appendages folded tightly beneath the body, waiting. The mantis shrimp is not large by the standards of reef predators. Many species measure no longer than a human hand. Yet within that modest frame lies one of the most extraordinary mechanical systems ever produced by evolution. The appendages folded beneath the animal's head function as biological hammers, capable of striking with a speed and force that would challenge engineered machines. To understand why these creatures are feared even among armored shellfish, it helps to understand the environment in which they evolved. Coral reefs are dominated by animals that protect themselves with hard shells. Crabs, snails, clams, and various crustaceans rely on thick calcium armor that resists most attacks. Breaking through such defenses usually requires heavy claws or powerful jaws. The mantis shrimp, however, has developed something far more precise and violent. Within the folded appendage of the mantis shrimp lies a structure known as the club, a specialized segment reinforced with layers of mineralized material arranged in complex microscopic patterns. The club appears smooth from the outside, yet under magnification, it reveals an architecture similar to advanced composite materials used in aerospace engineering. Layers of chitin fibers are stacked in rotating orientations, distributing stress across the structure so that it resists cracking even when subjected to extreme forces. This design allows the club to survive impacts that would shatter ordinary biological tissues. Evolution has effectively engineered a microscopic hammer built to endure repeated collisions with stone-hard shells. The power of the mantis shrimp's strike does not come from muscle alone. Instead, the animal uses a mechanical latch system that stores energy like a compressed spring. Powerful muscles inside the appendage slowly contract, bending internal structures and loading the system with potential energy. During this preparation phase, the mantis shrimp appears calm, almost still, yet tension is building within its weapon. A locking mechanism holds the appendage in place, preventing premature release while energy accumulates. When the latch finally disengages, the stored energy releases instantly, snapping the club forward with astonishing acceleration. The speed of this movement is difficult to grasp without comparison. The appendage accelerates faster than many bullets leaving the barrel of a firearm, reaching speeds that can exceed 20 meters per second within a distance of only a few centimeters. In the underwater environment where water resistance normally slows motion dramatically, such velocity is extraordinary. The club slams into its target with a force that can crack the shells of crabs or shatter the protective spirals of marine snails. Yet the mantis shrimp's attack does not rely solely on mechanical impact. Something even stranger happens during the strike. As the club moves through water at such extreme speed, it generates a sudden drop in pressure along its path. This pressure change causes the surrounding water to vaporize momentarily, forming a tiny bubble known as a cavitation bubble. The phenomenon is familiar to naval engineers, who encounter cavitation around rapidly spinning ship propellers. When these bubbles collapse, They release bursts of energy capable of eroding metal surfaces over time. In the mantis shrimp's case, cavitation becomes a weapon. The bubble formed by the shrimp's strike collapses almost instantly after impact, producing a secondary shockwave that strikes the prey with additional force. In effect, the mantis shrimp delivers two blows in rapid succession: the physical impact of the club, followed by the implosion of the cavitation bubble. High-speed cameras reveal that sometimes the cavitation shockwave alone is sufficient to stun or kill prey, even if the initial strike misses slightly. It is an extraordinary example of evolution, exploiting physical principles that humans only recently began to understand. Even more astonishing is the fact that when these bubbles collapse, they generate brief flashes of heat and light. Temperatures inside the collapsing bubble can momentarily reach levels comparable to the surface of the sun, though only for fractions of a second and within microscopic spaces. These flashes are invisible to the human eye underwater, yet they represent an intense burst of energy created entirely by the physics of fluid dynamics. In essence, each mantis shrimp strike triggers a tiny underwater explosion driven by pressure and heat. The prey animals that inhabit coral reefs have evolved numerous strategies to survive predators, yet few defenses can withstand such violence. A snail crawling slowly across the reef floor relies on its spiral shell as a fortress, a structure built layer by layer from calcium carbonate. Against ordinary predators, the shell is highly effective, deflecting bites and resisting crushing forces. But when a mantis shrimp locks onto such prey, the balance shifts dramatically. The shrimp positions itself carefully at the entrance of its burrow or along a patch of rubble, where prey animals wander in search of algae and detritus. Its eyes track movement constantly, scanning the environment with a level of visual complexity unmatched among marine animals. Mantis shrimp possess one of the most advanced visual systems in the animal kingdom. Each eye contains multiple photoreceptor types capable of detecting a wide spectrum of light wavelengths, including ultraviolet. The eyes move independently, allowing the animal to track different objects simultaneously, while also measuring depth through trinocular vision. This remarkable sensory ability plays a crucial role in guiding the strike. The shrimp does not simply swing blindly at prey. It calculates distance, angle, and timing with precision, ensuring that the hammer lands exactly where it must. When the moment arrives, the attack unfolds almost too quickly for human perception. The appendage snaps forward, the club collides with the shell, and fragments of calcium carbonate scatter across the seabed. The cavitation bubble forms instantly, collapsing with a violent shock that sends vibrations through the surrounding water. For the prey animal, the encounter is catastrophic. Even if the shell does not shatter completely on the first blow, the mantis shrimp repeats the strike again and again until the armor gives way. The broken shell becomes an open doorway to the soft tissue within. After the impact, the mantis shrimp pauses briefly, retracting its appendage while fragments settle through the water. The reef quickly absorbs the disturbance. Small fish resume their cautious movements, and drifting particles of sand slowly fall back onto the sea floor. Yet the event has lasting consequences for the ecosystem. Predation events like this recycle nutrients locked inside shells and bodies, returning organic material to the reef community. In this way, the mantis shrimp plays a role not only as a predator, but also as an agent of ecological transformation. The animal's burrow, which initially appeared as a simple hole in the sand, is actually a carefully maintained structure that provides both protection and strategic advantage. Mantis shrimp spend significant energy constructing and reinforcing these burrows, using fragments of shell and rubble to stabilize the tunnel walls. The burrow serves as a refuge from predators such as larger fish, octopuses, or Moray eels that might otherwise attack the shrimp. It also functions as an ambush point, allowing the mantis shrimp to watch passing prey from relative safety. Within the reef ecosystem, this predator occupies a niche defined by both its weaponry and its intelligence. Mantis shrimp are known for complex behaviors rarely associated with crustaceans. Some species defend territories fiercely, engaging in ritualized displays to warn rivals away from their burrows. Others carefully evaluate prey items before attacking, choosing targets whose shells can be broken with manageable effort. These decisions reflect a level of behavioral sophistication shaped by millions of years of evolutionary pressure. The reinforced club that delivers these strikes also reveals a deeper story about the relationship between biology and physics. Engineers studying mantis shrimp have analyzed the microstructure of the club to understand how it survives such intense impacts. The layered architecture distributes stress across the material in ways that prevent catastrophic fractures, even when the club collides with hard surfaces repeatedly. This design has inspired research into advanced materials that could mimic similar properties, potentially improving human technologies ranging from body armor to aerospace components. Yet despite the attention given to its weapon, the mantis shrimp remains a creature deeply integrated into the reef environment. Its hunting behavior shapes populations of shelled animals, influencing the balance between species that graze on algae and those that filter plankton from the water. By controlling these populations, the shrimp indirectly affects the growth patterns of corals and the availability of resources for other reef inhabitants. Even a predator as small as this contributes to the broader stability of the ecosystem. As the day progresses and sunlight grows stronger above the reef, the mantis shrimp retreats deeper into its burrow, waiting patiently for another opportunity. The ocean around it continues its endless cycle of growth and predation, of shells forming and shells breaking, of energy passing from one organism to another through intricate food webs. Somewhere nearby, another snail crawls slowly across the coral rubble, unaware that it has entered the territory of a predator armed with one of nature's most extraordinary biological weapons. In that hidden burrow beneath the reef surface, muscles tighten slowly once more. The latch begins to load with stored energy. The eyes rotate, tracking subtle movements in the surrounding water. Evolution has spent hundreds of millions of years refining this mechanism, turning a small crustacean into a master of underwater physics. When the next strike comes, it will unfold in less time than a human blink. Yet within that fraction of a second, the mantis shrimp will unleash a cascade of forces powerful enough to shatter armor, generate shockwaves, and ignite microscopic flashes of heat within the ocean itself. Dawn begins quietly across the warm waters of a tropical coastline, where mangrove forests lean toward the sea, and sunlight slowly pours across a shallow bay. The water here appears calm and inviting, its surface smooth as glass, revealing pale sand rippled by gentle currents beneath. Small fish gather near the shoreline, feeding on drifting plankton and microscopic algae that bloom in the early morning light. Schools of anchovies shimmer like living mirrors, their bodies flashing silver as they pivot in unison. To the casual observer, the scene feels peaceful, almost delicate. Yet beneath that calm surface, a hunter moves with silent precision through the water column. It leaves no wake, casts no shadow, and carries one of the most sophisticated venom delivery systems found anywhere in the animal kingdom. The box jellyfish drifts through the coastal shallows like a ghost made of glass. Its bell-shaped body is nearly transparent, allowing sunlight to pass through it so completely that the animal often becomes almost invisible in the surrounding water. Only careful observation reveals its presence, where faint edges distort the light just enough to hint at something alive moving through the sea. Unlike many jellyfish that drift passively with ocean currents, the box jellyfish is an active swimmer. Muscles within the bell contract rhythmically, pushing water backward and propelling the animal forward with surprising control. The motion is graceful yet purposeful, allowing the jellyfish to navigate through the environment rather than simply surrendering to it. The animal's shape reflects a precise evolutionary design. Instead of the circular bells typical of most jellyfish, the body forms a box-like structure with 4 distinct corners. From each corner trails a bundle of tentacles that extend through the water like nearly invisible threads. These tentacles are the true instruments of the jellyfish's power, carrying thousands upon thousands of microscopic weapons packed tightly along their length. Each weapon is known as a nematocyst, a specialized cellular structure capable of delivering venom with extraordinary speed and efficiency. The nematocyst functions as a biological harpoon. Within each microscopic capsule lies a tightly coiled thread armed with barbs and connected to a reservoir of venom. The entire structure is held under immense internal pressure, similar to a spring compressed to the limit. When triggered by contact with prey, the capsule bursts open and the thread fires outward instantly, penetrating the victim's tissue and injecting venom directly into the cells. The speed of this mechanism is among the fastest biological actions ever measured. The harpoon fires in less than 1,000th of a second, a velocity so rapid that it rivals the acceleration of mechanical systems engineered by humans. To understand the effectiveness of this weapon, it helps to imagine the scale involved. Each tentacle may contain millions of these nematocysts arranged in dense batteries along its surface. When prey brushes against the tentacle, thousands of harpoons can fire simultaneously, each delivering a microscopic dose of venom that spreads rapidly through the victim's body. The result is an overwhelming biochemical assault delivered in an instant. Small fish that encounter these tentacles often lose the ability to swim almost immediately, their nervous systems overwhelmed before they can escape. The venom itself represents a complex mixture of proteins evolved specifically to disrupt essential biological processes. One of its most dangerous effects targets the cells of the heart. Certain toxins within the venom interfere with the electrical signals that control cardiac muscle contraction, disrupting the rhythm that keeps the heart pumping. In small prey animals, the effect can be rapid and devastating, causing paralysis or cardiac failure within moments of exposure. This strategy allows the jellyfish to immobilize prey quickly before currents carry the victim away. Yet the venom does not simply stop the heart. Other components attack cell membranes, breaking down structural integrity and allowing toxins to penetrate deeper into the body. This multi-layered chemical attack ensures that prey is subdued quickly, even if only a fraction of the tentacle's nematocysts successfully fire. The density of venom delivery along the tentacles means that contact rarely results in a single injection. Instead, it produces a barrage of microscopic stings occurring simultaneously across the victim's body. The box jellyfish's hunting method relies heavily on stealth. Its transparent body allows it to blend seamlessly into the surrounding water, particularly in the clear tropical environments where sunlight penetrates deeply into the sea. Prey animals, such as small fish, rely heavily on vision to detect predators, scanning the water for shapes or shadows that signal danger. The jellyfish, however, creates almost no visual disturbance. Its tissues are composed largely of water, and its refractive properties closely match those of the surrounding environment. This means that even alert fish can swim directly toward the animal without recognizing the threat until it is far too late. The tentacles themselves add another layer of invisibility. When extended through the water, they become nearly impossible to see, drifting like strands of transparent silk. A fish swimming through the water column may unknowingly pass through a curtain of these threads. The moment its body touches the tentacle surface, the nematocysts fire automatically. The attack requires no conscious decision from the jellyfish. The system operates as an autonomous defense and hunting mechanism built into the animal's cellular architecture. Yet the box jellyfish is not merely a passive trap drifting in open water. Research has revealed that these animals actively control their movements and display a surprising degree of directional swimming. Within the bell are structures known as rhopalia, sensory organs that contain clusters of simple eyes capable of detecting light, shadows, and obstacles. These eyes allow the jellyfish to navigate through its environment, avoiding collisions with objects such as mangrove roots or coral structures. The animal can orient itself toward areas rich in prey, while steering away from hazards that might damage its delicate body. This ability to swim actively transforms the jellyfish into a far more capable hunter than its appearance suggests. Instead of waiting passively for prey to wander into its tentacles, the animal can move through areas where small fish congregate. Coastal shallows provide ideal hunting grounds, especially during calm conditions when plankton blooms attract swarms of fish seeking food. The jellyfish moves slowly but deliberately through these feeding grounds, trailing its tentacles behind like a drifting net. When prey becomes entangled in the tentacles, the jellyfish begins a remarkable feeding process. The tentacles contract gradually, drawing the immobilized fish toward the central body. Along the edges of the bell lies the mouth, which opens to ingest the captured prey. Digestive tissues break down the fish externally before absorbing nutrients, allowing the jellyfish to convert its venomous success into energy for growth and reproduction. Despite their simplicity compared to more complex animals, Box jellyfish exhibit behaviors that suggest a level of environmental awareness unusual among jellyfish. They are capable of adjusting their swimming patterns in response to changing light conditions, often remaining in deeper water during the brightest parts of the day before moving closer to shore as evening approaches. This daily movement may help them avoid predators while positioning themselves in areas where prey is abundant. The relationship between box jellyfish and their environment reflects a delicate balance within coastal ecosystems. By preying on small fish and plankton-feeding species, these animals influence the distribution of energy within the food web. Their presence can shape the behavior of fish schools, forcing them to remain alert and altering the patterns of movement within the shallow waters they inhabit. Even the jellyfish itself is not immune to predation. Certain sea turtles have developed the ability to consume jellyfish despite their venomous defenses. The thick skin of the turtle's mouth and digestive tract provides protection against nematocysts, allowing these reptiles to feed on jellyfish that would be lethal to many other animals. This predator-prey relationship illustrates how evolutionary pressures shape both offense and defense within marine ecosystems. The venom harpoons of the box jellyfish represent a pinnacle of microscopic weapon design. The nematocyst's firing mechanism is driven by osmotic pressure within the capsule, creating forces powerful enough to accelerate the harpoon faster than many mechanical devices of similar size. The barbed thread penetrates skin and anchors itself within tissue, ensuring that venom is delivered directly into the body rather than diffusing harmlessly into the surrounding water. Such precision at such a small scale highlights the extraordinary engineering solutions that evolution can produce. The jellyfish does not rely on strength or speed in the conventional sense. Instead, it deploys an army of microscopic weapons that operate automatically and with astonishing efficiency. Each tentacle becomes a living battery of harpoons, ready to fire the moment prey comes within reach. As the tropical sun climbs higher and the water warms, the box jellyfish continues its slow patrol through the shallows. Anchovies scatter as something invisible passes among them, their movements betraying the presence of a predator that remains almost impossible to see. The jellyfish glides forward with steady pulses of its bell, tentacles drifting behind like strands of transparent silk. In this quiet underwater world, where survival often depends on speed or strength, the box jellyfish relies instead on invisibility and microscopic precision. Within its delicate body lies a weapon system so efficient that it can paralyze prey in moments and disrupt the very cells that power a beating heart. The reef and the mangrove lagoon may appear calm to the human eye, yet hidden within these waters is a hunter armed with millions of venomous harpoons, drifting silently through sunlight and shadow as it continues one of the most elegant and dangerous hunting strategies found in the ocean. The reef appears quiet in the late afternoon heat, when sunlight pours through shallow tropical water and settles across a mosaic of coral rubble and pale sand. Broken coral fragments lie scattered across the seabed, like the remains of a long-collapsed city, their rough edges softened by years of wave motion and the slow work of algae and sponge growth. Small shrimp pick their way through the rubble fields, gobies hover just above the sand, and juvenile reef fish dart between shadows searching for food. From a distance, the terrain looks chaotic, an irregular landscape of stones, shells, and coral skeletons piled by storms and currents. Yet within this apparent disorder lies a carefully balanced ecosystem where countless small organisms depend on these rubble fields for shelter and opportunity. Hidden among those fragments, almost indistinguishable from the rocks themselves, lies one of the most venomous fish in the ocean. The stonefish does not announce its presence. It does not swim through open water like a hunting barracuda or patrol the reef crest like a territorial grouper. Instead, it disappears into the environment so completely that even trained divers often overlook it. Its body is thick and uneven, covered with knobby protrusions and textured skin that resembles encrusted rock more than living tissue. Shades of grey, brown, algae green, and pale coral white blend across its surface, forming patterns that mimic the colors of the surrounding rubble. Algae and microorganisms sometimes grow directly on its skin, further strengthening the illusion that the fish is simply another piece of reef debris resting on the bottom. This extraordinary camouflage represents the product of long evolutionary refinement. Coral rubble environments are visually complex places where jagged fragments, shifting sand, and scattered shells create an irregular mosaic that constantly changes under the influence of waves and tides. For a predator that relies on stealth rather than speed, blending into this chaotic landscape becomes a matter of survival. Over millions of years, natural selection favored individuals whose bodies more closely resembled the surrounding stones. Gradually, the fish's anatomy evolved toward the uncanny appearance seen today, where body shape, skin texture, and coloration combine to produce one of the most convincing natural disguises in the ocean. Yet beneath this quiet exterior lies a defensive weapon system unlike any other among reef fish. Running along the stonefish's back is a row of rigid dorsal spines, each connected to a venom gland embedded within the fish's tissues. These spines stand like the jagged points of broken coral, barely noticeable when the animal remains motionless against the seabed. To an unsuspecting fish or wandering predator, they appear harmless. But the moment pressure is applied to those spines, an intricate injection mechanism springs into action. Inside each spine lies a pair of grooves that function like tiny channels guiding venom toward the tip. At the base of the spine sits a specialized venom gland filled with a potent cocktail of toxins evolved to deter predators and disable threats. When something presses down on the spine, the pressure forces the spine downward into a flexible sheath of skin surrounding it. This compression squeezes the venom gland and pushes the toxin upward through the channels, delivering the venom directly into whatever object caused the pressure. The process is entirely mechanical and requires no conscious action from the fish. The stonefish does not need to decide to strike or trigger the system deliberately. The venom spines operate automatically, ensuring that any animal stepping on or biting the fish receives an immediate injection of toxin. This design is particularly effective because the fish relies so heavily on camouflage that predators often encounter it accidentally. The defensive system compensates for this risk by making contact extremely dangerous. The venom itself is a complex mixture of proteins that disrupt cellular function in multiple ways. Some components affect nerve transmission, interfering with the electrical signals that allow muscles to contract properly. Others damage cell membranes, causing tissues to break down and triggering intense pain responses in animals that come into contact with the spines. For small predators, the effect can be debilitating, forcing them to release the fish instantly and retreat. Even large animals learn quickly to avoid repeating the mistake. Despite possessing such formidable defenses, the stonefish is not merely a passive creature waiting for trouble. It is also a highly effective ambush predator, perfectly adapted to hunt within the rubble fields where it hides. Its large mouth sits at the front of the head like a hinged trap, capable of opening with astonishing speed. The fish spends long periods remaining completely still, allowing sediment to settle across its body and enhancing its disguise. Small fish moving through the rubble in search of algae or plankton rarely recognize the predator beneath them. Patience defines the stonefish's hunting strategy. Unlike predators that chase prey across the reef, the stonefish waits for opportunity to come within reach. This approach conserves energy, an important advantage in environments where food availability can fluctuate. By remaining motionless, the fish reduces its metabolic demands while maintaining readiness to strike the moment prey approaches. When that moment arrives, the attack unfolds in a fraction of a second. The stonefish opens its mouth rapidly, expanding the oral cavity and creating a sudden vacuum that draws water and prey inward. This method, known as suction feeding, allows the fish to capture prey without needing to lunge forward. Instead, the surrounding water itself carries the victim into the predator's mouth. Small fish or crustaceans often disappear before they have time to react, swallowed whole by the sudden surge of water. The combination of camouflage and suction feeding makes the stonefish exceptionally efficient in rubble environments. The broken coral landscape provides countless hiding places where the fish can blend seamlessly with the terrain. Meanwhile, the abundance of small reef creatures moving through these habitats ensures a steady supply of potential prey. Even cautious animals eventually pass within striking distance, unaware that the rock beside them is alive. Life among coral rubble presents its own challenges, however. Unlike the solid structures of living coral reefs, rubble fields shift and rearrange under the influence of waves and currents. Storms can scatter fragments across the seabed, burying some areas while exposing others. For a fish that relies on remaining hidden, this unstable terrain demands flexibility. The stonefish often adjusts its position slightly after disturbances, settling once again into the irregular gaps between fragments where its body blends naturally with the surroundings. Respiration also requires subtle adaptation. Many fish swim continuously to move water across their gills, ensuring a steady supply of oxygen. The stonefish, by contrast, spends long periods nearly motionless. To compensate, it uses slow, rhythmic movements of the mouth and gill covers to pump water across the gills while remaining still. This quiet breathing pattern prevents the fish from stirring sediment or attracting attention while it waits for prey. Even the eyes of the stonefish contribute to its hunting strategy. Positioned high on the head, they allow the fish to observe its surroundings while most of its body remains buried or concealed within the rubble. The eyes track movement in the water column above, watching for passing fish or shrimp that might drift too close. This elevated perspective gives the predator a field of view without requiring it to reveal its position. Predator-prey relationships in coral rubble ecosystems often involve a delicate balance between concealment and detection. Small fish must constantly scan their environment for subtle irregularities that might indicate hidden danger. Yet the complexity of the rubble landscape works in the stonefish's favor. The irregular shapes and shadows created by broken coral fragments provide countless visual distractions, making it nearly impossible for prey animals to inspect every rock carefully. Occasionally, larger predators such as groupers or reef sharks pass over the rubble fields searching for food. These hunters rely on speed and strength rather than stealth, sweeping through the habitat in sudden bursts of activity. The stonefish remains unmoving as these giants glide overhead, trusting its camouflage to keep it hidden. In many cases, the disguise works perfectly, allowing the fish to survive encounters that might otherwise prove fatal. The venomous spines also play an important role in these encounters. Predators that attempt to swallow the stonefish risk receiving a powerful dose of venom from the dorsal spines. Over time, such experiences shape the behavior of reef predators, teaching them to avoid animals with certain shapes or patterns. This learned avoidance contributes to the stonefish's survival, reinforcing the effectiveness of its defensive strategy. Beyond its interactions with predators and prey, the stonefish influences the broader ecology of rubble habitats in subtle ways. By feeding on small fish and crustaceans, it helps regulate populations that graze on algae or scavenge organic material. This predation pressure contributes to the dynamic balance of species within the ecosystem, preventing any single group from dominating the habitat completely. As evening approaches and sunlight fades into softer hues of gold and blue, the rubble field grows quieter. Day-active fish retreat toward sheltered crevices while nocturnal creatures begin to emerge from hiding. The stonefish remains where it has been for hours, a silent part of the reef's landscape. Sand grains settle across its back, and tiny shrimp pass nearby without noticing the predator beneath them. Within that stillness lies a remarkable combination of biological innovation. The camouflage that disguises the fish as stone, the pressure-triggered venom spines ready to defend it, and the lightning-fast suction feeding mechanism that captures prey all represent different solutions to the same fundamental challenge of survival in a competitive ecosystem. The stonefish does not dominate the reef through speed or aggression. Instead, it relies on patience, disguise, and a defensive system so effective that few predators dare to challenge it. For the surrounding reef community, the fish remains both hunter and hidden hazard, a reminder that even the most ordinary piece of coral rubble may conceal a living organism armed with one of the ocean's most sophisticated venom delivery systems. In this complex underwater world where survival often depends on remaining unseen, the stonefish has mastered the art of becoming part of the landscape itself, waiting silently until the next unwary creature passes within reach. The tide is turning across a shallow coral lagoon where the ocean breathes slowly through channels cut between reef structures. Warm tropical water glides over coral heads and sand patches, carrying clouds of plankton and the faint shimmer of tiny fish that feed on drifting particles. Parrotfish scrape algae from coral skeletons, wrasses weave through branching coral forests, and beneath the reef canopy, An intricate maze of crevices shelters countless small animals seeking protection from larger predators. The lagoon appears vibrant and full of life, yet much of that life moves cautiously, aware that hidden within the coral labyrinth are hunters built not for speed alone, but for chemical precision. A slender shape slips through the water with almost effortless grace. At first glance, it resembles a ribbon drifting through the current, its body narrow and flexible, patterned with alternating bands of pale silver and deep charcoal that break up its outline against the shifting background of coral shadows. As the animal turns, the true nature of its identity becomes clear. This is a sea snake, a reptile that has returned to the ocean and transformed itself into one of the most specialized marine hunters in tropical waters. Sea snakes belong to a remarkable evolutionary lineage. Their ancestors were land-dwelling snakes that gradually adapted to life in coastal environments before venturing fully into the sea. Over time, their bodies changed in ways that reflect the demands of an aquatic existence. The tail, once cylindrical like that of terrestrial snakes, has flattened into a broad paddle capable of generating powerful propulsion with minimal effort. The nostrils sit high on the snout and can close tightly when the animal dives, preventing seawater from entering the respiratory system. Even the skin has evolved to manage life in salt water, allowing limited exchange of oxygen through the body surface during long dives. The sea snake glides along the reef edge, its movements smooth and controlled. Unlike many marine predators that rely on bursts of speed, this animal moves with quiet efficiency, conserving energy as it searches for prey. The paddle-shaped tail sweeps gently from side to side, producing thrust, while the rest of the body follows in fluid curves. This swimming method allows the snake to navigate tight spaces within the reef, slipping between coral branches and rock crevices where fish often hide. Coral reefs are labyrinthine environments filled with narrow tunnels and sheltered cavities. Small fish use these spaces as refuges, darting inside when danger approaches. For many predators, these hiding places provide effective protection. Yet the sea snake possesses a body design perfectly suited to entering these confined spaces. Its long, slender form allows it to probe deep into crevices, pursuing prey into areas where larger predators cannot reach. The snake pauses near a cluster of coral rubble where a group of small fish hover cautiously above the seabed. Their silvery bodies flicker in the sunlight as they feed on tiny crustaceans drifting through the water. Beneath them lies a network of narrow openings leading into the coral structure. These openings serve as emergency shelters, allowing the fish to vanish instantly if threatened. But the sea snake is not deterred by such defenses. With slow, deliberate movements, the snake lowers its head toward the reef surface and begins exploring the crevices. The tongue flicks repeatedly, sampling the water for chemical traces that reveal the presence of prey. This behavior, familiar among terrestrial snakes, functions equally well underwater. The forked tongue collects microscopic particles carrying scent information, which are then analyzed by sensory organs inside the mouth. Through this system, the snake can detect the presence of fish hidden within the coral long before it sees them. The moment a fish shifts within its hiding place, the snake reacts. Its head darts forward with precise speed, slipping into the crevice and seizing the prey before it can escape deeper into the reef. Unlike many predatory fish that rely on teeth to tear their victims apart, the sea snake delivers a far more efficient solution. Within its mouth lie specialized fangs connected to venom glands that produce one of the most potent neurotoxins found in the marine world. The venom of sea snakes is extraordinarily powerful, often surpassing that of many terrestrial cobras in toxicity. Yet its purpose is not aggression or defense against large animals. Instead, the venom has evolved specifically to immobilize fish with remarkable speed. Fish are agile swimmers capable of explosive bursts of movement that could easily carry them beyond the reach of a predator. For a snake hunting within complex reef structures, allowing prey even a few seconds of escape time would mean losing the meal entirely. The venom solves this problem by targeting the nervous system with ruthless precision. Neurotoxins within the venom interfere with the communication between nerves and muscles, blocking the signals that allow muscles to contract. Once injected into the bloodstream, these toxins begin binding to receptors at neuromuscular junctions, preventing the normal transmission of electrical impulses that control movement. The effect spreads rapidly through the fish's body, shutting down muscle activity and leaving the prey unable to swim. For the sea snake, this biochemical strategy provides a decisive advantage. Instead of struggling with a thrashing fish that might escape into the reef maze, the snake waits calmly as the venom takes effect. Within moments, the fish loses its ability to coordinate movement. Paralysis spreads through the muscles, and the once agile swimmer becomes motionless in the water. The snake then begins the slow process of swallowing its prey whole. The act of feeding reveals another remarkable adaptation. The jaws of the sea snake are capable of expanding widely thanks to flexible ligaments connecting the bones of the skull. This allows the snake to consume prey much larger than the diameter of its head. As the fish disappears gradually into the snake's mouth, muscular contractions move the meal deeper into the digestive tract, where powerful enzymes begin breaking down tissue and bone. After feeding, the snake surfaces briefly to breathe. Unlike fish, sea snakes must obtain oxygen from the air, yet they are capable of remaining submerged for surprisingly long periods. This ability results from several physiological adaptations that enhance oxygen storage within the body. The lungs of sea snakes are elongated and extend through much of the body cavity, allowing them to hold large volumes of air relative to their size. In addition, their blood contains high concentrations of oxygen-binding proteins that transport and store oxygen efficiently during dives. These features allow many sea snakes to remain underwater for extended periods while hunting among the reef crevices. Some species can stay submerged for hours when resting, reducing the frequency with which they must surface and exposing themselves to predators above. The ability to conserve oxygen becomes especially valuable in the labyrinthine reef environment, where prey may hide deep within coral structures. Another subtle adaptation further improves the snake's diving capability. The skin of sea snakes allows a limited exchange of gases with the surrounding water, enabling small amounts of oxygen to diffuse directly into the bloodstream. While this contribution represents only a fraction of the animal's total oxygen needs, it provides an additional buffer that extends dive time and improves efficiency during long hunting sessions. The paddle-tail plays an equally important role in this underwater lifestyle. Unlike the cylindrical tails of terrestrial snakes, the flattened tail of the sea snake acts like a small fin, generating thrust with minimal effort. Each lateral sweep pushes against the water, propelling the snake forward while maintaining balance and maneuverability. This design allows the snake to glide smoothly through the reef environment, conserving energy while maintaining precise control of direction. As the afternoon light begins to soften and shadows lengthen across the coral landscape, the sea snake continues its quiet patrol through the reef. Small fish retreat deeper into crevices as the predator passes, their movements revealing the constant tension that defines life within coral ecosystems. Every animal here must balance the need to feed with the risk of becoming food for something else. Occasionally, the snake encounters other predators moving through the same habitat. Moray eels peer from rocky openings, their jaws opening and closing rhythmically as they breathe. Reef sharks glide above the coral structures, scanning for fish moving through open water. The sea snake rarely confronts these animals directly. Instead, it relies on its slender shape and stealth to avoid unnecessary conflict, slipping through narrow passages where larger hunters cannot follow. Despite its formidable venom, the sea snake does not use its weapon recklessly. Venom production requires energy, and each dose represents a valuable resource that must be used efficiently. By targeting small fish within confined spaces and delivering precise strikes, the snake ensures that each envenomation leads directly to a successful meal. This measured strategy reflects the broader balance within reef ecosystems, where energy must be carefully managed in a competitive environment. Predators that waste effort or expend resources unnecessarily often struggle to survive. The sea snake's combination of stealth, physiological efficiency, and powerful venom allows it to thrive within this complex system. As twilight approaches and the reef begins its transition toward nocturnal life, the sea snake moves slowly toward deeper water. The coral labyrinth fades into dim blue shadows, while nocturnal creatures prepare to emerge from hiding. The snake's slender body disappears gradually into the open lagoon, leaving behind a habitat where fish continue their cautious search for food among the rocks and coral branches. Hidden within that elegant reptilian form lies a chemical weapon refined by millions of years of evolution. The neurotoxin carried in its venom glands represents one of the most effective biological tools for disabling prey in the ocean. Yet the snake's success depends not on venom alone, but on the seamless integration of anatomy, behavior, and environment. The paddle tail that propels it through water, the elongated lungs that store oxygen for long dives, and the sensory abilities that detect hidden fish all work together in a coordinated system shaped by life beneath the waves. In the shifting world of coral reefs, where survival often depends on speed or armor, the sea snake has chosen a different strategy. It hunts with quiet patience, moving through narrow passages where prey believes itself safe. And when the moment comes, a single injection of hyper-potent venom turns the chaos of reef life into stillness, allowing the hunter to claim its meal before slipping silently back into the currents of the tropical sea. The reef at mid-morning is a landscape of restless motion. Sunlight pours through the surface and breaks into shifting ribbons across coral towers, sandy channels, and scattered rubble fields where fragments of broken skeletons accumulate between living reef structures. Small fish hover above coral heads like drifting confetti, darting suddenly whenever shadows pass overhead. Crabs move cautiously between stones, pausing often to raise their claws and test the water for chemical signals of danger. Beneath this constant activity lies another world that most reef animals learn to fear. A world defined not by speed or size, but by intelligence, patience, and chemistry. Somewhere among the crevices of this coral maze, an octopus waits. At first, the animal is invisible. The reef surface appears ordinary, a patchwork of coral rubble and sand dusted with fragments of shell. Then, something changes almost imperceptibly. A faint ripple passes across a stone that was not a stone at all. The texture shifts, colors rearrange themselves, and two watchful eyes rise slightly from the surface of the rubble. What seemed like part of the reef has come alive. The octopus unfolds slowly, its skin transforming from mottled stone gray into the shifting pattern of coral shadows and algae. It has been watching the entire time. Octopuses are masters of disguise, but camouflage is only one part of a far more sophisticated hunting strategy. These animals belong to a group of mollusks known as cephalopods, relatives of squid and cuttlefish that have evolved remarkable nervous systems and complex behaviors rarely associated with invertebrates. Within the octopus lies a brain that rivals the cognitive abilities of many vertebrates, allowing it to solve problems, remember locations, and manipulate objects in ways that appear almost deliberate. The reef environment rewards such intelligence. Coral ecosystems are labyrinths filled with narrow crevices, overhangs, tunnels, and pockets of sand where prey animals hide from predators. Unlike open water hunters that rely on speed, the octopus navigates this maze with deliberate precision. Its body contains no rigid skeleton, allowing it to squeeze through openings barely wider than its beak, the only hard structure in its body. This flexibility allows the animal to explore spaces that would be inaccessible to almost any other predator. The octopus drifts across the rubble field with careful movements, each arm touching the surface gently, as though reading the reef through sensation alone. In many ways, it is doing exactly that. Along the inner surface of each arm lie hundreds of suction cups, and within each cup are thousands of sensory cells capable of detecting both texture and chemical signals. The octopus does not merely feel the reef, it tastes it. This extraordinary sensory system allows the animal to identify potential prey hidden within crevices. A crab, buried beneath rubble, leaves behind faint chemical traces, invisible signals that drift through the water and cling to surfaces. When the octopus's arms pass over these areas, receptors within the suction cups detect the compounds released by the crab's body. The arms pause, exploring the location more carefully, confirming the presence of a hidden meal. Unlike many predators that strike instantly, the octopus often approaches prey with remarkable caution. Its skin shifts color and texture continuously, matching the surrounding rocks and algae as it moves. Chromatophores within the skin expand and contract under neural control, producing patterns that blend seamlessly with the environment. At the same time, tiny muscles alter the skin's surface, creating bumps and ridges that mimic the roughness of coral rubble. To passing fish, the octopus appears as nothing more than part of the reef itself. Suddenly, one arm slips into a narrow opening between coral fragments. The movement is gentle, but purposeful. The crab inside reacts instantly, raising its claws in defense, yet it has already lost the advantage. The octopus's arms function almost like independent creatures, each capable of exploring, gripping, and manipulating objects with astonishing dexterity. When the arm contacts the crab, suction cups lock into place across the animal's shell, securing the prey before it can retreat deeper into the crevice. What happens next reveals one of the octopus's most fascinating biological weapons. Hidden within its mouth is a structure resembling the beak of a parrot, sharp and powerful enough to break apart shells or crush the exoskeleton of crustaceans. Yet brute force is not always necessary. The octopus also produces a specialized saliva containing neurotoxic compounds capable of immobilizing prey with remarkable efficiency. This venomous saliva is delivered through the beak as the octopus bites its prey. Once injected, the toxins begin interfering with nerve signals that control muscle movement. Within moments, the crab's claws lose their strength and the animal becomes increasingly sluggish. Paralysis spreads through its body, preventing effective resistance. The octopus waits patiently as the venom takes effect, maintaining its grip with several arms, while the others continue probing the surrounding environment for additional opportunities. In some cases, the octopus employs an even more precise technique when dealing with heavily armored prey, such as clams or snails. Instead of attempting to pry open the shell by force, the animal uses its beak to drill a tiny hole directly through the shell's surface. This process requires patience and remarkable control as the octopus grinds slowly against the shell until a small opening appears. Through this opening, the octopus injects its venomous saliva directly into the prey's body. Once the toxin spreads through the tissues inside the shell, the prey animal relaxes its muscles, allowing the octopus to open the shell and consume the contents with minimal effort. This drilling strategy demonstrates the animal's ability to solve mechanical problems through methodical behavior rather than brute strength. Shells that evolve to resist crushing predators become vulnerable to a hunter capable of using chemistry and patience. Among the many species of octopus inhabiting tropical reefs, some relatives have taken venom evolution even further. The blue-ringed octopus, for example, carries one of the most potent neurotoxins known in marine environments. This toxin interferes with sodium channels in nerve cells, effectively shutting down the electrical signals that control muscles and respiration. While the blue-ringed octopus is small and rarely aggressive, its venom illustrates the extraordinary chemical potential that exists within the cephalopod lineage. Even species that do not possess such extreme toxins rely heavily on chemical assistance when subduing prey. The neurotoxic compounds in their saliva allow them to capture animals that might otherwise escape during a struggle. Fish caught within the octopus's arms quickly lose the ability to swim, their muscles unable to respond to nerve signals disrupted by the venom. This biochemical strategy transforms the octopus into a predator capable of controlling prey with remarkable efficiency. The arms themselves play an equally important role in the hunt. Unlike the limbs of most animals, octopus arms contain a large proportion of the creature's nervous system. Each arm houses complex neural networks capable of processing sensory information and coordinating movements independently of the central brain. This decentralized control allows the arms to react quickly to stimuli, adjusting their grip or exploring new surfaces without waiting for instructions from the brain. As the captured crab begins to lose mobility, several arms fold inward to secure the prey, while others remain free to monitor the surrounding area. This division of labor illustrates the remarkable coordination between the octopus's central intelligence and the semi-autonomous capabilities of its limbs. The animal does not simply grasp its prey. It surrounds it, manipulates it, and controls it with an entire network of living tools. Once the crab is fully immobilized, the octopus brings the prey toward its mouth. The beak closes around the shell, breaking apart weakened sections as the venom continues to spread through the tissues. Small fragments fall onto the sand below, while the octopus consumes the soft body inside. The entire process unfolds quietly, almost delicately, yet beneath the calm surface lies a sophisticated interaction between intelligence, chemistry, and anatomy. The octopus finishes feeding and then retreats slightly into the shadows beneath a coral ledge. Here it rests, its skin once again blending with the surrounding rock. Nearby, small fish resume their movements through the reef as though nothing unusual has occurred. In reality, the ecosystem has just witnessed a highly specialized predator completing another successful hunt. Beyond its hunting ability, the octopus plays an important role in shaping reef communities. By preying on crabs, mollusks, and small fish, it influences the balance of species within the ecosystem. Crabs that graze on algae may become prey, allowing certain algae species to grow more freely. Snails that feed on coral polyps may also fall victim, indirectly benefiting the coral colonies they might otherwise damage. In this way, the octopus participates in the complex web of interactions that define reef ecology. Yet the octopus itself remains vulnerable. Larger predators such as reef sharks, groupers, and Moray eels occasionally hunt these intelligent mollusks. To survive such encounters, the octopus relies on an arsenal of defensive strategies, including rapid color change, sudden bursts of jet propulsion, and the release of ink clouds that confuse predators and obscure the animal's escape route. As the afternoon light begins to soften and the reef transitions toward evening activity, the octopus emerges once again from its hiding place. Its body shifts color to match the surrounding coral rubble, while its arms spread across the seabed like living roots. The animal moves slowly, carefully, exploring every crevice with a patience that reflects millions of years of evolutionary refinement. In the complex architecture of the reef, the octopus stands apart from many other predators. It does not rely solely on venom, strength, or speed. Instead, it combines intelligence, chemical weaponry, flexible anatomy, and extraordinary sensory perception into a hunting strategy unlike any other in the ocean. Each movement reflects a careful calculation of risk and opportunity, a quiet demonstration that in the natural world, survival often belongs not only to the strongest, but to the most adaptable. Hidden among coral stones and shifting shadows, the octopus continues its silent patrol of the reef, a creature whose greatest weapon may not be venom alone, but the remarkable mind guiding every movement of its 8 searching arms. The reef opens suddenly into deeper blue water, where coral formations give way to steep drop-offs and drifting clouds of plankton. Here, the ocean feels different. Instead of the dense maze of coral branches and rubble fields found in the shallows, the environment expands into a broad corridor where sunlight penetrates through clear tropical water and fades slowly into darker layers below. Small reef fish venture cautiously into this space to feed on plankton carried by currents flowing along the reef wall. Schools of sardines and fusiliers move together in shimmering formations, their bodies reflecting sunlight in a flickering wave that seems almost hypnotic. In this open water zone, the rules of survival change dramatically. Camouflage becomes less useful, and speed begins to dominate the balance between predator and prey. Within this open corridor, a long, narrow silhouette drifts almost motionless beside the reef slope. The animal appears relaxed, its body suspended in the water, with only occasional movements of the tail to maintain position. To the untrained eye, it might seem passive, or even indifferent to the activity around it. Yet beneath this stillness lies a predator, built entirely around one extraordinary biological weapon: acceleration. The barracuda's body shape tells the story immediately. Long and cylindrical, the fish resembles a polished torpedo designed to move through water with minimal resistance. Every curve of its body reflects an evolutionary compromise between strength and hydrodynamic efficiency. The head tapers smoothly into the body, reducing drag as the fish glides forward. The dorsal and anal fins sit far back near the tail, providing stability during sudden bursts of speed. Even the placement of the eyes contributes to the animal's hunting strategy, positioned forward enough to judge distance precisely when launching an attack. Unlike many reef predators that rely on maneuverability within complex coral environments, the barracuda specializes in explosive movement through open water. The muscles along its body are composed largely of fast twitch fibers, capable of generating powerful contractions within fractions of a second. These muscles store energy as the fish waits, allowing it to unleash sudden bursts of acceleration when the moment demands. For now, the barracuda remains still. The surrounding fish continue their feeding behavior, dipping in and out of the reef edge as they consume drifting plankton. From a distance, the predator seems almost part of the environment, its silvery body blending with the reflections of sunlight bouncing off the water surface. In fact, the barracuda's scales play a subtle role in its hunting strategy. Each scale acts like a tiny mirror, reflecting the surrounding light in shifting patterns that distort the fish's outline. When viewed from different angles, the predator's shape becomes difficult to define, blending into the glittering backdrop created by schools of small fish. This reflective camouflage confuses potential prey by making it harder to distinguish the barracuda from the surrounding flashes of light. In the constantly shifting illumination of open water, this visual trick allows the predator to approach its targets more closely before being recognized. The sardines drifting near the reef wall continue feeding, their movements synchronized by instinctive schooling behavior. When threatened, the school can compress into a dense sphere, confusing predators with thousands of flashing bodies moving simultaneously. Yet schooling also creates a paradox. While the group provides protection through numbers, it also produces visual chaos that skilled predators can exploit. The barracuda watches carefully. Its eyes track the subtle rhythms of the school, waiting for a moment when the formation stretches slightly or a small cluster of fish drifts a little too far from the main group. Predators built for acceleration depend on timing more than brute force. A poorly timed attack wastes energy and alerts prey to the danger. Patience becomes the final component of the weapon system. Then the shift happens. A portion of the school spreads slightly as several fish chase plankton drifting away from the reef wall. For an instant, the dense formation loosens, creating a narrow gap in the defensive structure. The barracuda reacts immediately. The body that seemed motionless a moment ago transforms into a streak of silver. The powerful tail sweeps sideways in a rapid series of movements, generating thrust that launches the fish forward with extraordinary speed. Water resistance that would slow most animals barely affects the streamlined shape of the predator. The torpedo-like body slices through the water column with astonishing efficiency. In less than a heartbeat, the barracuda crosses the distance separating it from the school. The attack unfolds so quickly that the fish inside the formation barely have time to react. Schooling behavior triggers a sudden compression of bodies as the sardines attempt to regroup, but the predator has already entered the formation. The barracuda's jaws open wide, revealing rows of sharp triangular teeth designed not merely to grip but to slice. These teeth function like a series of blades arranged with surgical precision along the edges of the jaws. Unlike crushing predators that rely on brute strength, the barracuda uses these teeth to inflict rapid cutting strikes that disable prey instantly. One sardine is caught directly within the jaws as the predator passes through the school. The fish disappears in a blur of motion as the barracuda continues forward, carrying its meal beyond the edge of the formation. The entire attack lasts less than a second. By the time the school reorganizes into its defensive sphere, the predator has already completed its strike. Yet the barracuda's success does not depend on a single attack. Its entire anatomy supports repeated bursts of acceleration, allowing the fish to attempt multiple strikes during a feeding session. The muscles along the body contain high concentrations of energy-storing compounds that fuel rapid contractions. These biochemical reserves allow the predator to generate explosive power even after several attacks. The teeth themselves represent another fascinating adaptation within the barracuda's biological arsenal. Unlike mammals whose teeth remain fixed throughout adulthood, many predatory fish continually replace their teeth throughout life. The barracuda follows this pattern, shedding worn or damaged teeth and replacing them with new ones that grow along the jawline. This replacement cycle ensures that the predator's cutting tools remain sharp despite the stresses of repeated hunting. Each tooth sits in a socket where developing replacements wait beneath the surface. When an older tooth breaks or falls out, the new one moves into position, maintaining the effectiveness of the weapon system. This constant renewal allows barracudas to sustain a lifetime of high-impact feeding, without losing their ability to slice through prey. After the strike, the barracuda slows once again, drifting quietly beside the reef slope as though nothing unusual has occurred. The school of sardines remains nearby, now more tightly packed and vigilant after the sudden attack. For a few moments the predator does nothing, conserving energy and allowing the prey to settle back into their feeding patterns. This pause reflects a broader strategy used by many acceleration-based predators. High-speed attacks require enormous bursts of energy, and repeated strikes without rest would quickly exhaust even a powerful swimmer. By alternating between stillness and explosive movement, the barracuda maintains efficiency while maximizing its chances of success. The predator's role within the reef ecosystem extends beyond its immediate feeding behavior. By targeting smaller schooling fish, barracudas influence the population dynamics of species that consume plankton and algae. These interactions ripple through the food web, affecting the distribution of nutrients and shaping the balance between different groups of organisms within the reef environment. Occasionally, larger predators pass through the same hunting grounds. Reef sharks cruise along the drop-off, their movements smooth and deliberate as they search for fish, moving between the reef and open water. The barracuda often yields space to such animals, relying on its speed to avoid confrontation. In the ocean hierarchy, acceleration provides both offense and escape. As afternoon light begins to fade toward evening, the water column changes subtly. Schools of fish shift their positions closer to the reef, while nocturnal hunters begin preparing for the coming darkness. The barracuda remains where it has been for much of the day, suspended in the water with a stillness that conceals its true potential. Within that streamlined body lies one of the ocean's most efficient acceleration systems. The torpedo-like shape reduces drag. The powerful muscles store explosive energy. The reflective scales distort the predator's outline among the flashing bodies of schooling fish. The continuously replacing teeth ensure that every strike remains lethal. In the world of coral reefs, survival strategies vary widely. Some predators rely on venom, others on camouflage, others still on overwhelming strength. The barracuda represents a different solution to the problem of hunting in open water. It has become a biological missile, a predator that transforms stillness into sudden violence through sheer acceleration. The ocean around the reef continues its endless movement of currents, plankton, and migrating fish. Within that shifting world, the barracuda waits again, motionless in the water column, its body poised between patience and speed. Somewhere nearby, another school of fish drifts slightly too far from the safety of the coral wall. When the moment arrives, the quiet silhouette will once again explode into motion, demonstrating that in the open corridors of the reef, speed itself can become the most devastating weapon of all. Far from the coral shallows where sunlight pours easily through warm tropical water, the ocean begins to change character. The seafloor slopes away from the reef and drops into deeper blue, where light fades into long columns that shimmer like distant glass. Here the water becomes cooler, quieter, and far less predictable. Small plankton drift upward in thin clouds carried by currents rising from the depths, while fish that spend their lives between open water and darkness glide cautiously through the dim layers. In this vertical world where there are few places to hide, survival depends not on armor or venom alone, but on speed, perception, and the ability to transform one's body into a living projectile. Among the drifting forms of the midwater zone, a squid moves with subtle precision. Its body appears almost aerodynamic, shaped like a tapered cylinder that narrows toward a pointed tail, where triangular fins extend gently into the water. The fins pulse slowly, allowing the animal to hover with minimal effort while maintaining balance in the surrounding currents. At the front of the body lies a cluster of arms arranged around a sharp, parrot-like beak. But extending beyond those arms are two specialized structures that define the squid's hunting strategy: its tentacles. Unlike the 8 shorter arms used primarily for grasping and manipulation, the squid's tentacles are long elastic weapons capable of extending with astonishing speed. Most of the time, these tentacles remain coiled within the animal's reach, folded neatly alongside the arms in a compact configuration that keeps them protected from damage. Yet when prey comes within striking distance, those same tentacles transform into biological projectiles that shoot forward with a velocity difficult to comprehend without specialized cameras. The water column here is filled with small fish and crustaceans that drift upward during the night in a daily migration known among oceanographers as vertical migration. These animals rise from deeper layers toward the surface to feed on plankton before retreating again when daylight returns. This constant movement creates opportunities for predators capable of navigating between light and darkness. The squid senses the presence of prey through a combination of visual and mechanical cues. Its eyes, among the most sophisticated in the invertebrate world, are large and highly sensitive to faint light. These eyes allow the animal to detect subtle movements even in dim conditions, where other predators might struggle to see clearly. Within the squid's body, a nervous system coordinates the information from those eyes, with signals from sensitive tissues along the arms that detect disturbances in the surrounding water. A small fish drifts slightly away from the loose school it has been following. The separation lasts only a moment, but it is enough. The squid reacts instantly. The tentacles explode forward. Driven by powerful muscles within the squid's mantle and elastic energy stored in specialized tissues along the tentacle shafts, the appendages shoot outward in a sudden extension that can reach several body lengths in a fraction of a second. The movement is so fast that water resistance barely slows the strike. To the fish, the attack appears almost instantaneous, the predator materializing within reach before any evasive maneuver can begin. At the ends of the tentacles lie specialized pads covered with rows of suckers. Unlike the smooth suction cups seen along the squid's shorter arms, many of these tentacle suckers contain hardened rings lined with tiny hooks. These hook-lined suckers function like grappling devices, anchoring themselves firmly into the slippery surface of a fish's scales or the smooth carapace of a crustacean. The tentacle tips strike the prey and lock into place. In the same instant, the elastic tentacles retract, pulling the captured fish rapidly toward the cluster of arms surrounding the squid's mouth. The entire sequence, from extension to capture, unfolds so quickly that even a fast-swimming fish rarely escapes once contact is made. Once the prey reaches the arms, the squid transitions into a different phase of control. The 8 arms close inward like the fingers of a hand, their own suckers gripping tightly as they manipulate the struggling fish into position. The beak at the center of the arms then tears into the prey with remarkable efficiency, breaking through scales and flesh to begin the process of feeding. Yet the tentacle strike represents only one component of the squid's hunting system. Equally important is its ability to position itself within the water column quickly and with precision. For this purpose, the squid relies on a method of locomotion, unlike that used by most fish. Inside the squid's mantle cavity lies a chamber where water is drawn in and expelled through a muscular funnel known as the siphon. When the mantle contracts, water is forced rapidly through this funnel, producing a jet that propels the squid in the opposite direction. This jet propulsion system allows the animal to accelerate quickly when pursuing prey or escaping predators. While jet propulsion can generate impressive bursts of speed, it also consumes considerable energy. As a result, squids often alternate between gentle fin movements for slow hovering and powerful jet bursts for sudden maneuvers. This combination of swimming methods provides both efficiency and agility within the dynamic environment of the open ocean. The squid's body also possesses a remarkable ability to change color and pattern almost instantly. Embedded within the skin are specialized pigment cells known as chromatophores, each containing tiny sacs of colored pigments controlled by muscular rings. When these muscles contract, the pigment sacs expand and become visible. When they relax, the pigments shrink and disappear beneath the skin. By coordinating thousands of chromatophores across its body, the squid can create shifting patterns that blend with the surrounding water or mimic the appearance of passing light and shadow. This dynamic camouflage allows the predator to approach prey without drawing attention, particularly in environments where flickering sunlight and drifting particles create constantly changing visual backgrounds. In deeper water where light levels are lower, some squid species combine chromatophore camouflage with reflective cells that scatter available light across their skin. This adaptation helps break up the animal's outline and reduces the contrast between its body and the surrounding darkness. For prey animals relying on vision, the squid often becomes difficult to detect until the moment the tentacles strike. The effectiveness of this hunting strategy becomes even more dramatic when examining the behavior of larger squid species inhabiting deeper ocean layers. Among these animals, the giant squid represents one of the most elusive predators known to science. Living far below the reach of most sunlight, these massive cephalopods occupy a realm where food can be scarce, and encounters between predators and prey may be infrequent. In such an environment, efficiency becomes critical. Giant squids rely on ambush strategies that mirror the techniques used by their smaller relatives, but on a far larger scale. Instead of actively pursuing prey across long distances, the squid positions itself within areas where fish or other animals are likely to pass. When the opportunity arises, its enormous tentacles extend outward with remarkable force, capturing prey before it has time to react. The tentacle tips of giant squids carry rows of rotating hooks rather than simple suction cups. These hooks dig into the flesh of captured animals, ensuring that even powerful fish cannot escape once seized. The prey is then pulled toward the squid's arms, where the beak delivers fatal bites. Such interactions are rarely witnessed directly because they occur in deep ocean environments beyond the reach of ordinary observation. However, scars found on the bodies of large predators such as sperm whales provide indirect evidence of these encounters. Circular marks left by the hooks of giant squid tentacles reveal a long evolutionary struggle between two formidable hunters of the deep. For smaller squid inhabiting shallower waters, the battle for survival unfolds more visibly. Many species must constantly balance the need to hunt with the risk of becoming prey themselves. Fish such as tuna, dolphins, and seabirds frequently target squid, forcing them to rely on rapid escape maneuvers and camouflage to survive. One of the squid's most famous defensive strategies involves the release of ink clouds when threatened. Specialized glands produce a dark pigment that is expelled into the water through the siphon, forming a dense cloud that obscures the predator's view. Some species even shape this ink cloud into a pseudo-body resembling the squid itself, creating a temporary decoy while the real animal jets away in another direction. As evening approaches and the ocean begins its gradual transition toward night, the midwater zone fills with movement. Small fish rise from deeper layers, following the vertical migration that brings them closer to plankton-rich surface waters. In response, predators, including squid, adjust their positions to intercept this nightly flow of prey. The squid drifts once more through the dim blue water, its chromatophores adjusting constantly to match the shifting light around it. Tentacles remain coiled and ready, their elastic muscles storing potential energy for the next strike. Every movement reflects a system refined by millions of years of evolution, a balance between stealth, speed, and mechanical precision. Within this delicate predator lies one of the ocean's most effective biological weapons, the tentacle strike. Combined with jet propulsion, hook-line suckers, and a nervous system capable of coordinating rapid sensory input, the squid has become a master of ambush within the water column. The surrounding ocean continues its quiet rhythm of currents, drifting plankton and migrating fish. Somewhere within that slow movement, another prey animal strays slightly too far from the safety of its school. The squid senses the shift instantly. Muscles tighten, tentacles prepare to launch, and the silent hunter once again transforms stillness into motion as its living harpoons streak forward through the darkening sea. The ocean at high latitude moves with a different rhythm than the warm coral seas of the tropics. Here the water is colder, darker, and often restless under the influence of wind and shifting weather systems. Long swells roll across the surface, while patches of drifting ice form temporary platforms where seals rest between dives. Beneath the surface lies an ecosystem defined by powerful currents and enormous migrations of fish, whales, and squid. In this environment, survival rarely depends on camouflage alone. Instead, success belongs to animals capable of interpreting complex signals, remembering distant feeding grounds, and coordinating their actions with others. Few predators embody these abilities more completely than the orca. From above, the first sign of their presence is subtle. A smooth black dorsal fin cuts briefly through the water before disappearing again beneath the waves. Moments later, another fin surfaces nearby, followed by the gentle exhalation of breath rising in a misty plume against the cold air. The animals move in a loose formation, their bodies gliding with effortless power beneath the surface. Each individual remains aware of the others, adjusting its path to maintain position within the group. Orcas are often called killer whales, yet biologically they are the largest members of the dolphin family. Their bodies combine immense strength with extraordinary intelligence. The sleek black and white coloration that distinguishes them serves not merely as a visual signature, but also as an adaptation to the ocean environment. The dark dorsal surface blends with the deeper water when viewed from above, while the pale underside merges with the brightness of the surface when seen from below. This pattern provides a form of countershading camouflage that reduces visibility to prey animals navigating through the water column. Yet camouflage is not the defining weapon of the orca. Their true advantage lies in something far less visible, but far more powerful: intelligence expressed through cooperation. Unlike solitary hunters that rely on individual strength, orcas operate as coordinated social units known as pods. Each pod functions almost like a tightly organized team, where individuals communicate constantly and share information about prey, environment, and strategy. The group moving through the cold sea now consists of several individuals of varying sizes. The largest female swims near the center, maintaining a steady pace while younger animals move slightly ahead or behind her. This arrangement reflects the matrilineal structure of orca society, where family groups remain together for decades under the guidance of experienced females who carry knowledge accumulated over a lifetime. That knowledge includes far more than the location of feeding grounds. Orcas possess hunting traditions that differ dramatically between populations. Some pods specialize in fish such as salmon, while others focus on marine mammals, including seals and dolphins. These preferences are not simply instinctive habits. They represent cultural behaviors passed down from one generation to the next through observation and practice. The water ahead reveals a low platform of drifting ice where several seals rest, their bodies stretched across the frozen surface. For these animals, the ice serves as a temporary refuge from predators lurking below. Seals often use such platforms to rest between hunting dives, relying on the stability of the ice and the surrounding cold water to protect them from danger. Yet the orcas approaching beneath the surface have developed a method of hunting that turns this refuge into a vulnerability. The pod slows slightly as the animals approach the ice floe. They do not rush toward their prey. Instead, they spread out into a loose semicircle beneath the water, their bodies aligned carefully as though preparing for a synchronized maneuver. Each individual maintains a specific position relative to the others, adjusting depth and speed with subtle movements of the tail. Then the group accelerates. Powerful strokes of their tails drive them forward beneath the surface in near-perfect coordination. As they approach the edge of the ice, the whales rise toward the surface while maintaining their formation. When they reach the leading edge of the flow, several individuals thrust upward simultaneously, pushing a large volume of water ahead of them. The result is a powerful wave that surges across the surface of the ice. The seals react instantly, scrambling toward the opposite edge of the flow as water washes across the platform. But the wave has already destabilized their footing. One seal loses its grip and slides into the sea where the waiting orcas close in. Within seconds, the hunt is over. This wave hunting technique represents one of the most striking examples of cooperative hunting in the animal kingdom. It requires precise timing and coordination among multiple individuals, each contributing to the creation of the wave that sweeps prey into the water. Young orcas learn this behavior gradually by observing experienced members of the pod. Over time, they practice the maneuver until they can perform it effectively as part of the group. The same intelligence that allows orcas to coordinate such hunts also enables them to exploit other specialized feeding strategies. In certain regions of the ocean, orca pods have developed a remarkable technique for hunting sharks. These powerful fish possess formidable defenses, including sharp teeth and rough skin that can deter many predators. Yet orcas have discovered a vulnerability hidden within the shark's physiology. A shark's liver is rich in oils that help regulate buoyancy, making it one of the most energy-dense organs in the ocean. By targeting this organ specifically, orcas can obtain enormous nutritional value from a single kill. Observations of carcasses left behind after orca attacks reveal that the predators often remove the liver while leaving much of the rest of the shark untouched. The method used to achieve this result reflects a deep understanding of shark anatomy. Orcas have been observed flipping sharks onto their backs, inducing a state known as tonic immobility. In this condition, the shark becomes temporarily paralyzed, allowing the whales to manipulate the body without resistance. Once immobilized, the shark becomes vulnerable to precise bites that access the liver. Such behavior suggests not only physical capability, but also learned strategy. Young orcas do not automatically possess this knowledge. Instead, they acquire it by observing experienced hunters within their pod. Over years of participation in hunts, they gradually refine their own technique until they become skilled members of the hunting team. Communication plays a critical role in coordinating these activities. Orcas produce a wide range of vocalizations, including clicks, whistles, and pulsed calls that travel efficiently through water. These sounds serve multiple purposes. Some clicks function as part of an echolocation system that allows the whales to detect objects and prey through reflected sound waves. Others operate as social signals that help maintain group cohesion and coordinate movement during hunts. Each pod develops its own distinctive patterns of vocalizations, sometimes referred to as dialects. These vocal traditions reinforce social bonds within the group while distinguishing one pod from another. In effect, orca pods possess unique acoustic identities that reflect their shared history and cultural inheritance. During hunting events, these vocal signals help synchronize the movements of individuals separated by several body lengths of water. A change in call pattern can signal the beginning of a coordinated maneuver, allowing each whale to adjust its position accordingly. This communication network transforms the pod into a highly responsive unit capable of adapting to the unpredictable movements of prey. As the captured seal disappears beneath the surface, the pod regroups briefly before continuing its patrol through the icy sea. Smaller individuals remain close to the larger female, observing her movements and participating in the distribution of the meal. Even feeding behavior reflects the cooperative nature of orca society, where prey captured during group hunts often becomes shared among members of the pod. Beyond immediate survival, these interactions serve another critical purpose. They function as teaching moments through which younger whales learn the techniques that will sustain them throughout their lives. Each hunt becomes part of a living archive of knowledge stored not in written records, but in behavior passed directly from generation to generation. This cultural inheritance distinguishes orcas from most other marine predators. While many animals rely primarily on instinct, orcas expand their abilities through social learning. Hunting strategies refined over decades remain embedded within the collective memory of the pod, preserved through observation and practice by successive generations. Such intelligence also allows orcas to adapt to changing conditions within their environment. When prey populations shift or new opportunities arise, the whales can modify their behavior accordingly. In some regions, pods have learned to follow fishing vessels in search of discarded fish, while in others, they track seasonal migrations of whales or seals across vast ocean distances. The sea around them continues its restless movement of currents, drifting ice and migrating animals. Within this dynamic environment, the orca pod navigates with confidence, shaped by experience and cooperation. Each member contributes to the collective success of the group, whether by participating directly in hunts or by absorbing the lessons that will guide future generations. As evening approaches and the cold light of the polar sun sinks toward the horizon, the whales surface once more to breathe. Their dark fins slice briefly through the water before disappearing again beneath the surface. Somewhere below, the pod continues its silent conversation of clicks and calls, sharing information about the environment and the opportunities it holds. In a world where many predators rely on claws, venom, or sheer strength, the orca demonstrates a different kind of weapon entirely. Intelligence combined with cooperation becomes the ultimate advantage. Through coordinated hunting, strategic communication, and knowledge passed across generations, these whales transform the vast and unpredictable ocean into a landscape they can navigate with remarkable mastery. The reef at dusk begins to change character in subtle ways. Sunlight that once poured brightly through the water now softens into long, slanting beams that drift across coral towers and rubble slopes. Colors deepen as shadows grow longer, and the constant activity of daytime reef fish begins to slow. Parrotfish retreat towards sleeping crevices. Butterfly fish slip beneath ledges, and small wrasses vanish into the protective maze of coral branches. Yet while many animals prepare for night, others are only beginning to emerge. The reef does not truly grow quiet after sunset. Instead, it rearranges itself, shifting from one community of creatures to another. Along the base of a coral wall, where broken rock and branching coral form a tangled fortress of holes and tunnels, a narrow opening reveals a pair of watchful eyes. At first, the creature inside seems motionless, its head protruding slightly from the darkness of the crevice. Its skin is patterned with irregular mottled markings that blend with the surrounding coral and algae, a pattern that disrupts the outline of its body and hides its true shape. The animal opens and closes its mouth repeatedly, exposing rows of curved teeth before closing the jaws again. This is not a threat display. It is simply how the animal breathes. The Moray eel, unlike many fish that pump water through their gills with steady body movements, relies heavily on mouth movements to draw water across its respiratory surfaces. By opening and closing its jaws rhythmically, the eel pulls water into the mouth and pushes it across the gills located along the sides of its head. To an observer unfamiliar with this behavior, the repeated flashing of teeth might appear aggressive. In reality, it is simply the quiet breathing of a predator waiting in its fortress of coral. The Moray eel's body extends deep within the reef structure, far beyond what can be seen from outside the crevice. Long and muscular, it coils through the narrow tunnel like a living rope, its flexible spine allowing it to occupy spaces that would trap most other fish. This elongated form is not merely an accident of evolution. It allows the eel to navigate the intricate architecture of coral reefs, slipping through passages that twist and narrow between limestone structures built by generations of coral polyps. For a predator that relies on ambush, the reef provides the perfect hunting ground. Small fish frequently move along the reef surface searching for algae, tiny crustaceans, or drifting plankton. In doing so, they must pass close to openings in the coral wall, sometimes brushing the edges of crevices without noticing what lies inside. Within those crevices, the Moray eel waits. Unlike fast-swimming predators that chase prey through open water, Moray eels rely on patience and sudden acceleration over very short distances. The eel remains hidden within its hole, its head positioned just at the entrance where it can observe the surrounding environment. Its eyes track movement carefully, focusing on fish that pass too close to the reef surface. A small wrasse glides past the opening, unaware of the predator concealed within the rock. In a fraction of a second, the eel strikes. The head lunges forward with surprising speed, jaws snapping shut around the fish before it can react. For many predators, this moment would mark the end of the attack. But the Moray eel's hunting system includes a remarkable adaptation that allows it to secure prey in a way few other animals can replicate. Inside the eel's throat lies a second set of jaws. These are known as pharyngeal jaws, specialized structures located deeper within the throat that function independently from the primary jaws at the front of the mouth. While the outer jaws capture and hold prey, the pharyngeal jaws perform a second task that is both unusual and highly effective. Once the prey is seized, the pharyngeal jaws shoot forward from the throat into the mouth itself. These inner jaws grasp the captured fish and pull it backward into the esophagus. The movement resembles a conveyor system in which the prey is transferred from the outer jaws to the inner jaws before being dragged deeper into the body. This mechanism solves a major problem faced by predators with narrow skulls. Many fish rely on suction feeding to pull prey into their mouths, but the elongated head of a Moray eel cannot generate strong suction due to the limited volume inside the mouth cavity. Instead, the eel uses its pharyngeal jaws to actively transport prey toward the throat. The process unfolds quickly yet with mechanical precision. The outer jaws maintain their grip, while the pharyngeal jaws advance forward, their teeth hooking into the prey's body. Once contact is made, the inner jaws retract, pulling the prey into the throat where it can no longer escape. The outer jaws then release and reposition if necessary, allowing the pharyngeal jaws to continue the swallowing process. This extraordinary feeding mechanism represents one of the most unusual anatomical solutions found among vertebrates. It allows the moray eel to capture prey larger than might otherwise be possible, given its narrow head and elongated body. At the same time, the system ensures that once prey enters the mouth, escape becomes nearly impossible. After the fish disappears into the eel's throat, the predator retreats slightly back into its crevice. The reef outside continues its gradual transition toward night. Tiny plankton begin rising through the water column, attracting small fish that emerge cautiously from hiding places. For the moray eel, these changes signal the beginning of an active hunting period. Yet the eel does not always hunt alone. In certain coral reef ecosystems, an unusual partnership occasionally forms between moray eels and another formidable predator, the grouper. Groupers are powerful reef fish capable of chasing prey through open water, but less adept at pursuing animals that hide deep within coral crevices. Moray eels, by contrast, excel at navigating the reef interior, but cannot match the grouper's speed in open water. When these two predators encounter one another during hunting periods, a remarkable form of cooperation sometimes emerges. The grouper approaches the eel's hiding place and performs a distinctive head-shaking display near the entrance of the crevice. This gesture appears to function as an invitation, signaling the eel to leave its hole and join the hunt. In response, the eel emerges from its shelter and begins moving along the reef alongside the grouper. The pair then patrol the reef together, each using its own strengths to flush out prey. When fish attempt to escape the grouper by diving into coral holes, the eel follows them inside the reef structure, where its flexible body allows it to pursue prey through narrow tunnels. Conversely, when fish flee the eel by darting into open water, the grouper intercepts them with bursts of speed. This cooperative hunting behavior increases the chances of success for both animals. Although each predator ultimately consumes its own captured prey, their combined efforts make it more difficult for fish to find safe escape routes within the complex reef architecture. The existence of such partnerships challenges traditional views of predator competition within ecosystems. Instead of competing directly for the same prey, these animals exploit different aspects of the environment in ways that complement each other's abilities. The grouper controls the open water, while the eel dominates the interior of the reef. As darkness spreads across the coral landscape, more moray eels emerge from their hiding places. Some species leave their daytime shelters to explore the reef actively, weaving through coral corridors with slow, undulating movements of the body. Their sense of smell becomes particularly important during these nocturnal hunts, allowing them to detect chemical traces left behind by injured or hiding prey. Despite their fearsome appearance, moray eels are not indiscriminate predators. Many species focus primarily on fish, while others specialize in crustaceans such as crabs and shrimp. Their powerful jaws and sharp teeth allow them to crush shells or tear flesh, depending on the type of prey encountered. Occasionally, larger predators such as reef sharks or large groupers may attempt to attack moray eels, but such encounters are risky. The eel's narrow body can retreat deep into crevices where larger animals cannot reach, and its sharp teeth can deliver painful bites if threatened. In most cases, potential predators learn to avoid attacking an eel inside its rocky refuge. Back at the original crevice, the eel resumes its watchful posture, with only its head visible from the hole. The rhythmic opening and closing of its jaws continues as water flows across the gills, bringing oxygen to sustain the predator through the coming night. Within that narrow tunnel of coral lies a feeding system unlike any other among reef fish. The outer jaws seize prey with sudden violence, while the hidden pharyngeal jaws extend forward like a mechanical arm to pull the victim deeper into the throat. Combined with stealth, patience, and the occasional assistance of cooperative hunting partners, this double-jawed design transforms the moray eel into one of the reef's most specialized predators. Around the eel, the reef settles into nocturnal activity. Tiny crustaceans emerge from hiding places. Small fish drift cautiously through the dim water, and shadows deepen along the coral walls. In this shifting underwater city of stone and living coral, every crevice may conceal a silent hunter waiting for the next unwary traveler to pass too close to the darkness. The reef begins the day quietly, bathed in the pale gold light that filters through warm tropical water as the sun climbs above the horizon. Coral towers glow softly under the surface, while schools of small fish drift between branching corals like fragments of living silver. Feather stars extend delicate arms into the current to catch passing plankton, and shrimp creep cautiously across the sand between patches of rubble. In the early morning calm, the reef appears orderly and almost peaceful, yet this impression hides the constant tension that shapes life within coral ecosystems. Every fish moving through this labyrinth of coral and stone is engaged in a delicate calculation of risk, scanning the water for shapes that might signal danger. Somewhere within this living architecture, a predator waits that hunts not through speed or brute force, but through patience, deception, and a defense so effective that few animals dare challenge it. The lionfish emerges slowly from beneath a coral overhang, where it has spent the night resting in shadow. Its body appears almost ornamental, adorned with long, flowing fins that spread outward like the plumes of an elaborate costume. Bands of deep red and pale cream run along its body in alternating stripes, creating a pattern that breaks up the animal's outline against the complex colors of the reef. The effect is striking, almost beautiful, yet the elegance hides a weapon system that has shaped the lionfish's ecological role in profound ways. The most obvious feature of the lionfish is its array of elongated dorsal spines rising along the back like a fan of slender spears. Each spine is connected to a venom gland located at the base of the structure within the fish's tissues. Unlike the spines of ordinary fish that serve primarily as rigid support structures, these spines function as defensive weapons capable of delivering a painful dose of venom to any predator that attempts to bite or swallow the fish. The venom itself is produced in specialized glands that lie along the spine bases. When pressure is applied to a spine, the thin skin sheath surrounding it is pushed downward, exposing grooves along the spine's surface. Venom flows along these grooves and enters the wound created by the puncture. The process is entirely mechanical and does not require active injection by the fish. Instead, the venom is delivered automatically whenever a predator or careless animal presses against the spines. The chemical mixture within the venom contains proteins that disrupt nerve signaling and cause intense pain in animals that encounter it. In small predators, the effect can be debilitating, forcing them to release the lionfish immediately. Even larger animals quickly learn to avoid the distinctive shape of the fish after a single unpleasant encounter. This powerful defensive system allows the lionfish to move through the reef with unusual confidence compared to many other fish species. The defensive value of these spines extends beyond protection from predators. Because the lionfish carries such an effective deterrent, it can adopt hunting strategies that would be far too risky for other fish. While many predators rely on rapid strikes followed by immediate retreat, the lionfish hunts slowly and deliberately, often approaching prey at a pace that seems almost leisurely. The fish glides forward through the water with gentle movements of its pectoral fins, which spread outward like delicate wings. These fins are not merely decorative structures. Their broad surface area allows the lionfish to maneuver with exceptional control, adjusting its position with subtle shifts that barely disturb the surrounding water. This quiet movement prevents nearby prey from detecting sudden pressure waves that might signal danger. A group of small reef fish hover near a patch of coral rubble, feeding on tiny crustaceans drifting through the current. Their attention remains focused on the plankton-rich water above the reef surface, leaving them vulnerable to predators approaching from below. The lionfish angles its body carefully as it nears the group, its striped pattern blending with the complex shadows cast by coral branches. As the predator approaches, the pectoral fins expand even further, forming a semicircle around the fish's body. This display serves multiple purposes. To potential predators, the expanded fins emphasize the dangerous spines and create the illusion of a larger animal. To prey fish, however, the fins function as a form of containment barrier. By spreading its fins widely, the lionfish gradually herds small fish into a confined space against the reef surface. The prey animals instinctively attempt to avoid the approaching predator, yet the expanded fins block their escape routes. Slowly, the fish find themselves compressed into a smaller and smaller area where their movements become restricted. The lionfish pauses momentarily, as it positions itself within striking distance. Its body remains almost motionless, except for the subtle flicker of fins maintaining balance in the water. Then, in a sudden movement, the mouth opens wide and expands forward. Water rushes inward, carrying one of the trapped fish directly into the predator's mouth. The entire event unfolds with remarkable speed, despite the otherwise slow approach. Lionfish rely on a feeding technique known as suction feeding, where rapid expansion of the mouth cavity creates a powerful vacuum that pulls prey into the mouth before it can react. Once inside, the prey disappears quickly down the throat, swallowed whole by the predator. This combination of slow stalking and sudden suction feeding allows lionfish to capture prey that might otherwise escape from faster predators. By minimizing sudden movements during the approach, the fish avoids triggering the escape reflexes of its targets. Only at the final moment does the predator reveal its true speed. The lionfish continues its patrol along the reef slope, moving from one patch of coral to another with quiet persistence. Several small fish scatter briefly when the predator passes, yet many remain unaware of the danger until it is too late. The reef environment, with its complex structure and shifting light patterns, provides countless opportunities for such ambushes. In its native range across the Indo-Pacific region, the lionfish occupies a niche among many competing predators. Reef sharks, groupers, moray eels, and other carnivorous fish share the same habitat, creating a balanced system in which no single predator dominates completely. In such ecosystems, the lionfish's venomous defense offers protection without allowing the species to overwhelm the surrounding community. However, in other parts of the world, the story unfolds very differently. In regions such as the Western Atlantic and Caribbean Sea, lionfish have appeared far from their native habitat. Introduced accidentally through human activities, these fish encountered ecosystems that lacked the predators and competitors capable of controlling their populations. The result has been a dramatic expansion of lionfish numbers across reefs where native fish have little experience dealing with the venomous newcomer. The lionfish's biological advantages make it particularly successful in these environments. Its venomous spines discourage predation, allowing individuals to survive long enough to reproduce repeatedly. The fish also mature relatively quickly and produce large numbers of eggs during each reproductive cycle. Ocean currents can carry these eggs across vast distances, spreading lionfish larvae to new reefs where they establish additional populations. Equally important is the lionfish's flexible diet. Unlike predators that specialize in a narrow range of prey species, lionfish consume a wide variety of small fish and crustaceans. This dietary versatility allows them to exploit many different habitats within reef ecosystems, from shallow lagoons to deeper reef slopes. The consequences for native fish communities can be significant. By preying heavily on juvenile fish, lionfish reduce the populations of species that would otherwise grow into adult herbivores or predators within the reef. In some locations, this predation pressure has altered the balance of reef ecosystems, affecting everything from algae growth to coral health. Yet even in these invaded ecosystems, the lionfish remains a fascinating example of evolutionary design. The same features that make it successful as an invasive species also illustrate the delicate interplay between predator adaptations and ecological balance. Venomous defense, slow stalking behavior, and the dramatic fin display that both intimidates predators and traps prey all reflect strategies shaped by millions of years of evolution in complex marine environments. As the sun begins to descend toward the horizon and the reef transitions into the softer light of evening, the lionfish drifts once more toward the shelter of coral branches. Its fins fold gradually against its body as it slips beneath an overhang where shadows deepen. There the fish will remain through the night's quieter hours before emerging again when the next cycle of feeding begins. Around it, the reef continues its constant movement of life. Small fish search for food among coral heads, crustaceans creep across the sand, and distant predators patrol the edges of the reef slope. Within this living city of coral and stone, the lionfish stands as both an elegant predator and a reminder of how powerful biological weapons can shape the fate of entire ecosystems. The long venomous spines, the slow stalking approach, the spreading fins that transform the fish into a living net, and the sudden suction strike all combine into a hunting system unlike any other on the reef. In the silent theater of coral ecosystems, where survival depends on both defense and deception, the lionfish demonstrates how beauty and danger can evolve together into a predator perfectly adapted to the hidden battles of the sea. Far from the coral reefs, where color and structure dominate the underwater landscape, the open ocean stretches in every direction as an immense field of moving water. Here, the horizon is defined not by land or reef walls, but by endless blue depth below and sky above. Sunlight penetrates the upper layers, illuminating vast currents that carry nutrients, plankton, and migrating fish across thousands of kilometers. The environment appears empty at first glance, yet beneath the surface, it is alive with motion. Schools of sardines drift like silver clouds, squid flash through the water in sudden bursts, and predators roam constantly through this immense three-dimensional world. In such an environment, survival depends not on camouflage or hiding places, but on endurance and speed sustained across enormous distances. Through the blue expanse moves a shape built precisely for this challenge. Its body is smooth and muscular, narrowing toward a stiff crescent-shaped tail that slices through the water with rhythmic power. The fish travels within a school of its own kind, dozens of individuals gliding together in loose formation. Their bodies flash metallic blue and silver as they turn, reflecting sunlight like moving blades beneath the waves. These are tuna, among the fastest and most powerful swimmers in the ocean. Predators whose biological weapon is neither venom nor stealth, but the ability to maintain extraordinary speed for extended periods of time. The open ocean rewards animals capable of covering vast distances quickly. Prey species such as sardines and mackerel often form large schools that migrate constantly through the water column, following plankton blooms that drift with the currents. Predators that cannot keep pace with these moving food sources would struggle to survive in such a dynamic environment. Tuna have evolved a remarkable set of physiological and anatomical adaptations that allow them to dominate this high-speed world. The fish glides forward with minimal movement of its body, relying almost entirely on the powerful sweeps of its tail. The rest of the body remains rigid and streamlined, reducing drag as water flows smoothly along its surface. This design resembles the aerodynamic shapes used in high-speed aircraft or torpedoes, and for good reason. Every feature of the tuna's body has been refined by evolution to maximize hydrodynamic efficiency. The head tapers smoothly into the muscular torso, eliminating abrupt angles that might disrupt the flow of water. Small finlets along the back and belly reduce turbulence behind the main fins, stabilizing the fish during high-speed swimming. Even the skin plays a role in minimizing drag, with tiny structures that guide water smoothly along the body surface. Yet the tuna's true advantage lies beneath the skin within its muscular system. Most fish are ectothermic animals whose body temperature closely follows the temperature of the surrounding water. Tuna, however, possess a remarkable ability to maintain certain internal tissues at temperatures significantly warmer than the surrounding sea. This adaptation is made possible through a specialized arrangement of blood vessels known as countercurrent heat exchangers. As warm blood flows outward from the muscles toward the gills, it passes alongside cooler blood returning from the gills toward the body. Heat transfers from the outgoing blood into the incoming blood, conserving thermal energy within the muscles rather than losing it to the surrounding water. The result is a set of muscles that operate at temperatures far higher than the ambient ocean environment. Warmer muscles contract more efficiently and generate greater power than cold muscles. This allows tuna to produce strong, sustained swimming movements, even in cooler waters, where most fish would experience reduced performance. The fish within the school now begin to accelerate slightly, their formation tightening as they sense movement ahead. Far in the distance, a large group of sardines has gathered near the surface, their bodies shimmering as they feed on drifting plankton. The school forms a dense cluster that moves through the water like a living storm cloud. Tuna rely on speed endurance rather than sudden ambush attacks. Instead of launching brief bursts of acceleration followed by rest, these predators maintain high cruising speeds for extended periods while pursuing prey across large areas of ocean. Their muscles contain high concentrations of oxygen-binding proteins that support sustained aerobic activity, allowing the fish to swim continuously without exhausting their energy reserves. Oxygen efficiency plays a critical role in this endurance. The gills of tuna possess large surface areas through which oxygen can diffuse rapidly into the bloodstream. At the same time, the circulatory system transports oxygen-rich blood quickly to the working muscles. This combination allows the fish to maintain intense activity levels that would overwhelm many other marine animals. As the tuna approach the sardine school, the dynamics of the hunt begin to shift. The predators spread slightly, forming a loose semicircle around the prey formation. Individual fish adjust their positions carefully, maintaining spacing that prevents the sardines from escaping through gaps in the formation. The sardines sense the threat and compress their formation into a dense ball. Thousands of bodies turn simultaneously, producing flashes of silver that ripple across the water like reflected sunlight on waves. This schooling behavior serves as a defensive strategy designed to confuse predators and reduce the likelihood that any single individual will be captured. Yet the tuna possess both the speed and stamina to exploit weaknesses in the formation. The predators accelerate suddenly, their tails beating with powerful strokes that send them streaking through the water. Unlike ambush predators that rely on a single explosive strike, tuna sustain their speed as they drive into the outer edges of the sardine ball. Individual fish break away from the group in an attempt to escape the pressure, but doing so exposes them to pursuit. One tuna isolates a sardine drifting slightly beyond the edge of the school. The predator's body stiffens as it increases speed, the crescent-shaped tail delivering rapid thrust with each stroke. The distance between predator and prey closes rapidly, yet the tuna does not slow down after a few seconds as many other fish would. Instead, it continues accelerating. The sardine attempts to flee toward the surface, twisting and turning through the water with desperate movements. But the tuna's endurance allows it to match every change in direction without losing momentum. Within moments, the predator overtakes its target, jaws snapping shut around the small fish before it can rejoin the safety of the school. The tuna swallows the prey quickly and continues moving through the water, already scanning for the next opportunity. Around it, the rest of the school maintains the pursuit, their movements coordinated through subtle visual cues and hydrodynamic signals created by the water displaced by each swimmer. Such hunts can continue for extended periods as the tuna gradually wear down the defensive formation of the sardine school. The predators do not rely on a single decisive strike, but on relentless pressure sustained by their extraordinary swimming endurance. This ability to maintain high-speed pursuit also shapes the migratory behavior of tuna species across the world's oceans. Many populations travel enormous distances between feeding grounds and spawning areas, crossing entire ocean basins in search of favorable conditions. Their bodies function as biological engines, capable of sustaining long journeys through changing water temperatures and shifting currents. The warm muscle adaptation plays a critical role in these migrations. By retaining heat within the swimming muscles, tuna maintain high levels of performance even in cooler waters encountered during long-distance travel. This allows them to exploit feeding opportunities across a wider range of ocean environments than most other fish. Even the structure of the tail contributes to this endurance. The crescent-shaped caudal fin produces powerful thrust with each stroke while minimizing lateral movement of the body. This reduces energy loss and allows the fish to convert muscular effort directly into forward motion. As the hunting activity gradually slows, the sardine school fragments into smaller groups that scatter through the surrounding water. The tuna regroup briefly, their bodies gliding through the open ocean with the same quiet efficiency that defines their entire existence. Around them, the open sea continues its endless cycle of movement. Currents carry plankton across vast distances. Fish migrate in response to seasonal changes, and predators roam constantly through the blue expanse in search of food. Within this immense environment, the tuna stands as a master of sustained motion. Its torpedo-shaped body reduces drag. Its warm-blooded muscles generate powerful contractions, and its oxygen-efficient physiology supports relentless swimming across the open ocean. Speed alone does not define this predator. It is speed sustained over time. The ability to maintain high performance long after other animals would slow from exhaustion. In the vast arena of the open sea, where prey rarely stays in one place for long, endurance itself becomes the ultimate biological weapon. And so the tuna school continues forward through the blue expanse, moving with the quiet certainty of animals perfectly adapted to life in a world where distance is measured not in meters, but in entire oceans. The shallow lagoon lies calm beneath a sky of pale blue, its warm water drifting slowly through seagrass meadows and coral patches scattered across the sandy seabed. Sunlight ripples across the bottom in bright shifting patterns as gentle currents carry plankton and microscopic algae through the clear water. Small fish move cautiously among the grasses, nibbling at drifting food, while glancing frequently toward the open water where larger predators sometimes pass. Crabs shuffle sideways through the sand, leaving faint trails that disappear within seconds under the constant motion of the sea. In this quiet coastal habitat, survival depends on vigilance and adaptability. Some animals rely on speed, others on camouflage, and a few possess weapons so unusual that even the most determined predators hesitate before attacking. Near the edge of the seagrass meadow, a small fish drifts slowly above the sand. Its body appears round and compact, covered in subtle patterns of olive green and pale cream that blend with the colors of the surrounding vegetation. The fish moves with deliberate caution, its small fins fluttering gently as it searches the bottom for tiny crustaceans hidden among grains of sand. At first glance, it does not look particularly threatening. In fact, it seems almost vulnerable, lacking the sleek shape of fast swimmers or the sharp teeth of aggressive predators. Yet beneath this unassuming exterior lies one of the most potent chemical defenses in the marine world. This is a pufferfish, a member of a remarkable family of fishes whose biological weapon is not speed or venomous spines, but an invisible chemical toxin capable of stopping nerve signals in the bodies of much larger animals. The toxin is known as tetrodotoxin, a compound so powerful that only minute quantities are required to produce dramatic physiological effects. To understand the role of this toxin in the pufferfish's survival, it helps to look closely at the ecological environment in which these animals live. Coastal lagoons and seagrass beds are rich habitats filled with small invertebrates, juvenile fish, and drifting plankton. Such environments provide abundant food resources, yet they also attract predators ranging from larger fish to seabirds that patrol the shallows in search of easy meals. For a small fish moving slowly along the seabed, the risk of predation is constant. The pufferfish has responded to this challenge through a defense system that combines physical transformation with chemical deterrence. When undisturbed, the fish moves calmly through its environment, using its beak-like teeth to crush the shells of small mollusks or crustaceans that live within the sand. Its eyes remain alert, scanning the water column for approaching threats. Suddenly, a shadow passes overhead. A larger predatory fish glides across the lagoon, its body casting a dark silhouette against the sunlight filtering through the surface. The pufferfish notices immediately. Instead of fleeing at high speed as many small fish would attempt, it performs a very different maneuver. The fish begins to inflate. Water rushes into a specialized elastic stomach capable of expanding dramatically within seconds. As the stomach fills, the fish's body swells outward, transforming from a compact oval into a near spherical shape. The skin stretches tightly, while small spines that normally lie flat against the body stand upright, creating a surface that appears far more difficult to bite or swallow. For the predator circling above, the change is immediate and confusing. What looked like an easy meal a moment ago has suddenly become an awkward, spiny sphere, too large to fit easily within the predator's mouth. The inflation defense functions as a physical barrier, reducing the likelihood that a predator can consume the fish even if it attempts an attack. Yet the real power of the pufferfish's defense lies not in its inflated shape, but in the chemical weapons stored within its tissues. Tetrodotoxin is one of the most potent neurotoxins known in marine ecosystems. The compound interferes with sodium channels in nerve cells, blocking the electrical signals that allow muscles to contract and nerves to communicate with one another. When tetrodotoxin enters the body of a predator, the consequences can be severe. Even small doses can disrupt normal nerve function, leading to paralysis of muscles, including those responsible for breathing. In animals that ingest larger quantities, the toxin can quickly become fatal. Interestingly, the pufferfish itself does not produce tetrodotoxin directly. Instead, the toxin originates from symbiotic bacteria that live within the fish's tissues. These bacteria synthesize the compound as part of their own metabolic processes, and the fish accumulates the toxin by hosting these microorganisms within its body. This relationship between fish and bacteria represents a fascinating example of biological cooperation. The bacteria benefit from a stable environment within the fish's organs, while the fish gains access to a powerful chemical defense that deters predators. Over evolutionary time, this partnership has become tightly integrated into the life history of pufferfish species. Tetrodotoxin concentrates in specific organs such as the liver, skin, and reproductive tissues of the fish. In some species, the toxin also appears within the ovaries, providing chemical protection to developing eggs. By distributing the toxin across multiple tissues, the fish ensures that predators encountering any part of the body receive a potent deterrent. Back in the lagoon, the predator that triggered the pufferfish's inflation circles once more before moving away. The swollen fish remains motionless for a moment, maintaining its inflated form until the danger has passed. Gradually, the stomach contracts and expels the water, allowing the fish to return to its normal shape. For predators living in these coastal environments, encounters with pufferfish often serve as powerful lessons. Many animals rely on learning from experience to refine their feeding strategies. A predator that attempts to bite a pufferfish may receive a mouthful of toxin or discover that the inflated body cannot be swallowed easily. If the predator survives the encounter, it is likely to remember the distinctive appearance of the fish and avoid similar prey in the future. This predator learning behavior plays an important role in reinforcing the effectiveness of the pufferfish's defense. Over time, the bright patterns and rounded shape of the fish become warning signals recognized by other animals within the ecosystem. Such visual cues function similarly to warning coloration seen in other toxic animals across the natural world. Meanwhile, the pufferfish resumes its quiet search for food among the seagrass. Its beak-like teeth are formed from fused dental plates capable of crushing the shells of small mollusks that many other fish cannot eat. By exploiting this food source, the pufferfish occupies a unique ecological niche within the lagoon, feeding on animals that might otherwise remain inaccessible to predators. Occasionally, the fish pauses and releases small jets of water toward the sand, uncovering buried crustaceans hiding beneath the surface. This behavior reveals a surprising level of precision in the fish's feeding strategy. Instead of relying solely on sight, the pufferfish uses subtle water movements to expose prey concealed within the substrate. The toxin that protects the pufferfish does not eliminate all risks. Certain predators have evolved partial resistance to tetrodotoxin and may still attempt to attack pufferfish under specific circumstances. However, the combination of inflation defense, spiny skin, and chemical toxicity makes such attacks relatively rare. As afternoon light deepens across the lagoon, schools of juvenile fish gather among the seagrass blades, while distant rays glide silently across the sand. The pufferfish continues moving through this environment with calm confidence, aware that its unusual defense system provides a strong layer of protection against most threats. In the complex web of interactions that define coastal ecosystems, the pufferfish demonstrates how chemical weapons can shape survival strategies in remarkable ways. The partnership between bacteria and fish produces a toxin powerful enough to deter predators many times the fish's size. At the same time, the inflation behavior transforms the animal's body into a temporary shield against attack. Together, these adaptations allow the pufferfish to thrive within habitats where vulnerability might otherwise define its fate. Beneath the gentle surface of the lagoon, the small round fish drifts quietly among seagrass and coral fragments, carrying within its tissues a chemical secret that commands respect from the predators sharing its world. The tide has begun to fall across a shallow tropical flat where mangroves reach toward the sea, and muddy channels snake through patches of sand and scattered coral fragments. Unlike the towering coral reefs of deeper water, this coastal landscape is low and open, shaped by shifting currents that carry fine sediments across the bottom. Sunlight pours down through the shallow water, illuminating the sea floor with such clarity that every ripple in the sand becomes visible. Gobies hover near burrows, shrimp retreat quickly at the slightest disturbance, and juvenile fish move cautiously between isolated coral heads. In these exposed environments, hiding is difficult. The seabed offers little shelter beyond scattered rubble and thin clumps of algae. For predators and prey alike, survival here requires creativity. Along the sandy bottom, something moves that does not quite resemble any single animal. At first it appears as a drifting patch of mottled brown sand disturbed by a passing current. Then the shape elongates and rises slightly above the seafloor, revealing a slender body with arms trailing outward in slow, undulating movements. The animal pauses, blending perfectly with the rippled sediment beneath it. Only careful observation reveals the presence of eyes positioned high on the body, watching the surroundings with deliberate awareness. This is the mimic octopus, a creature that has transformed deception into one of the most remarkable biological weapons found in the ocean. While many animals rely on camouflage to disappear into their environment, the mimic octopus goes a step further. Instead of merely hiding, it actively impersonates other species, adopting their shapes, movements, and color patterns in ways that can confuse both predators and prey. The shallow, muddy habitats where mimic octopuses live are not easy places to hide. The sandy bottom provides few structures large enough to conceal a soft-bodied animal. Coral rubble offers occasional shelter, but much of the landscape remains open and exposed. In such environments, traditional camouflage often fails because there is simply not enough cover to blend into. The mimic octopus has solved this problem by developing behavioral camouflage that allows it to become something entirely different. The animal begins moving slowly across the sand, extending its arms in a way that makes the body appear longer and more angular. Its skin shifts color through the expansion and contraction of chromatophores embedded within the tissue. These pigment cells create patterns of dark bands and pale stripes that ripple across the animal's surface in response to signals from its nervous system. As the pattern stabilizes, the transformation becomes clear. The octopus now resembles a lionfish. Its arms spread outward in a fan-like display, each arm stiffened slightly to imitate the elongated fin rays of the venomous predator. The striped coloration reinforces the illusion, producing a visual pattern nearly identical to the warning stripes seen on lionfish. Even the way the arms wave gently in the current mirrors the slow, deliberate fin movements of the real fish. For potential predators passing overhead, this imitation sends a powerful signal. Lionfish carry venomous spines capable of delivering painful stings, and most reef predators learn quickly to avoid them. By mimicking the lionfish's appearance and movement, the octopus taps into this learned avoidance behavior. A predator that mistakes the octopus for a lionfish may simply choose to swim away rather than risk a dangerous encounter. Yet the mimic octopus does not rely on a single disguise. Its remarkable intelligence and flexible body allow it to perform a wide range of imitations depending on the situation it encounters. As the animal moves farther across the sandy flat, the lionfish form dissolves gradually. The arms fold inward and the body flattens against the sea floor, its coloration shifting once again. This time the transformation takes a different direction. The octopus stretches two arms backward while hiding the remaining arms beneath the body, creating the appearance of a long, narrow shape with a distinct head and tail. Dark stripes run along the length of the exposed arms, contrasting sharply with the pale background of the sand. The animal begins to move in a sinuous motion that glides smoothly across the seabed. Now it resembles a sea snake. Sea snakes are venomous reptiles whose bites can deliver powerful neurotoxins capable of paralyzing fish and deterring predators. In regions where mimic octopuses live, sea snakes often patrol shallow waters, hunting for small fish hiding within crevices. By copying the distinctive banded pattern and undulating movement of a sea snake, the octopus sends another warning signal to animals that might consider attacking it. This ability to imitate multiple species represents a level of behavioral complexity rarely seen among invertebrates. The mimic octopus does not simply change color like many other cephalopods. It alters the entire structure of its body, repositioning arms and adjusting movement patterns to recreate the outline and behavior of other animals. Such deception depends heavily on the octopus's sophisticated nervous system. Cephalopods possess large brains relative to their body size, with neural circuits capable of coordinating rapid changes in skin coloration, texture, and posture. Each arm also contains its own network of neurons that allow it to perform complex movements independently of the central brain. This distributed control system enables the octopus to reshape its body with remarkable precision. The mimic octopus continues its slow journey across the sand, pausing occasionally to probe the sediment with its arms. Small crustaceans hide beneath the surface, leaving faint chemical traces that the octopus can detect through sensory cells within its suckers. These suckers do more than grip surfaces. They also function as taste receptors, allowing the octopus to identify potential prey by sampling molecules dissolved in the water. Suddenly, a small fish darts from behind a coral fragment, searching the sand for food. The octopus reacts instantly. The sea snake disguise dissolves as the arms spread outward in a sudden burst of motion. Within a fraction of a second, the animal transforms from a harmless-looking serpent into a hunting octopus. Several arms shoot forward and wrap around the fish before it can escape. Suction cups grip tightly, while the prey struggles briefly against the soft but powerful limbs. The octopus draws the captured fish toward its mouth, where a sharp beak waits beneath the cluster of arms. In moments, the prey disappears into the predator's grasp. This quick transition from deception to predation reveals another advantage of the mimic octopus's strategy. By disguising itself as a dangerous animal, the octopus not only deters predators but also approaches prey more easily. Fish that might flee from an approaching octopus may ignore the presence of a lionfish or sea snake imitation, allowing the predator to close the distance before revealing its true identity. The sandy habitat where mimic octopuses live contains many predators capable of eating small cephalopods. Larger fish patrol the shallow channels, while rays glide across the seabed, searching for hidden prey. Birds such as herons and kingfishers also hunt these flats, plunging into the water to capture animals moving near the surface. In such an environment, confusion becomes a powerful defensive strategy. A predator that encounters a shape resembling a venomous lionfish or sea snake must make a rapid decision about whether to attack or retreat. Even a brief hesitation may allow the octopus enough time to escape into a nearby burrow or blend back into the sand. Predator confusion lies at the heart of the mimic octopus's success. By presenting multiple possible identities, the animal forces predators to interpret conflicting signals. Is the shape moving across the sand an octopus, a lionfish, or a snake? The uncertainty itself becomes a protective barrier. Occasionally, the octopus enhances this deception by combining environmental camouflage with imitation. When resting motionless, it can flatten its body against the sand and match the exact color and texture of the surrounding sediment. Small bumps appear across the skin as muscles beneath the surface alter its texture, creating a pattern nearly indistinguishable from the rippled seabed. In this form, the animal disappears completely, becoming another patch of sand beneath the shallow water. Only when it moves does the illusion break. As afternoon light begins to soften and the tide continues its slow retreat, the mimic octopus approaches a narrow burrow at the edge of the flat. The opening leads into a deeper tunnel beneath the sand, where the animal can retreat during periods of danger or rest. Before entering the shelter, the octopus pauses briefly, its skin shifting through a final cascade of colors that blend with the surrounding environment. Within this small creature lies one of the most sophisticated deception systems in the natural world. Through rapid control of skin coloration, flexible anatomy, and a nervous system capable of coordinating complex movements, the mimic octopus transforms itself into a living illusion. In the exposed landscapes of sandy lagoons, where hiding places are scarce, deception becomes the ultimate survival tool. By impersonating venomous fish, dangerous snakes, and other intimidating animals, the mimic octopus turns the fears of predators into its greatest defense. And so the animal slips quietly into its burrow beneath the sand, leaving behind a seafloor that appears unchanged. Yet moments earlier, that same patch of sand had been a lionfish, then a sea snake, and finally a hunter with 8 searching arms. In the ever-changing theater of the shallow sea, The mimic octopus proves that sometimes the most powerful weapon is not strength or speed, but the ability to become something entirely different. The reef flat stretches outward beneath clear tropical water, its surface broken by patches of coral, limestone ridges, and wide carpets of algae that sway gently in the current. Sunlight penetrates the shallow water with dazzling clarity, scattering shifting bands of brightness across the sea floor. Small, herbivorous fish pick methodically at the algae coating the rocks, while crabs emerge from narrow crevices to forage among fragments of coral rubble. The reef here is alive with quiet activity, yet it is also a place of constant tension. Every crevice hides potential prey, every shadow might conceal a predator, and survival depends on a delicate balance between feeding, defense, and adaptation. Along one stretch of exposed rock, the surface appears almost black with movement. Hundreds of long, needle-like structures radiate outward from small spherical bodies clustered tightly against the limestone. At first glance, they resemble a forest of tiny spears rising from the reef, each spine pointing in a slightly different direction. When the current shifts, the spines sway together like blades of grass responding to the wind, creating a strange and subtle motion that transforms the reef surface into a living field of defensive armor. These are sea urchins, animals whose entire existence is built around protection. Unlike swift fish that escape predators through speed or clever cephalopods that hide through camouflage, the sea urchin survives through an entirely different strategy. Its body is encased in a rigid shell known as a test, a spherical structure composed of interlocking plates of calcium carbonate. From this armored core emerge hundreds of spines that form the animal's primary defense against predators. To understand the significance of these spines, it helps to examine the ecological pressures that shape life on coral reefs. Reef environments are among the most biologically diverse habitats on the planet, supporting thousands of species that compete for space, food, and shelter. In such crowded ecosystems, vulnerability can quickly lead to extinction. Animals that lack effective defenses rarely survive long. Sea urchins represent a remarkable evolutionary solution to this challenge. Their spines function not only as physical barriers, but also as mobile structures capable of responding to threats. Each spine connects to the test through a ball and socket joint controlled by tiny muscles at the base. This design allows the urchin to rotate its spines in multiple directions, effectively aiming them toward any approaching disturbance. As a small reef fish approaches the cluster of urchins, the response is immediate. The surrounding spines tilt slightly toward the intruder, forming a dense defensive barrier that discourages close contact. For predators that attempt to bite or swallow an urchin, these sharp structures create a painful obstacle capable of puncturing delicate tissues. Yet the spines alone do not tell the entire story of the sea urchin's defense system. Between them lie countless microscopic structures known as pedicellariae, tiny claw-like appendages that resemble miniature jaws perched atop slender stalks. These organs are so small that they are often invisible to the casual observer, yet they play an essential role in protecting the urchin's body. Pedicellariae serve multiple purposes. Some function as cleaning tools, removing debris and parasites that settle onto the animal's surface. Others act as active defensive structures, snapping shut when triggered by contact with foreign objects. In certain species, these tiny jaws contain venom glands capable of delivering chemical deterrents to predators or parasites that attempt to settle on the urchin's body. This combination of spines and pedicellariae creates a layered defensive system. Larger predators encounter the long, sharp spines first, while smaller threats must contend with the snapping claws hidden among them. Together, these structures transform the sea urchin into a living fortress capable of resisting attacks from a wide range of potential enemies. Despite these formidable defenses, some predators have evolved specialized techniques for feeding on sea urchins. Certain species of fish possess powerful teeth capable of crushing the urchin's rigid shell. Sea otters, in colder regions, famously use rocks to break open the armored tests of urchins in order to reach the nutritious tissues inside. Even some starfish prey upon urchins by slowly prying apart the protective plates of the test. These interactions illustrate the constant evolutionary arms race that shapes marine ecosystems. As sea urchins developed stronger armor and sharper spines, predators evolved new methods for overcoming those defenses. The result is a dynamic balance between attack and protection that continues to shape the structure of reef communities. Among the many species of sea urchins inhabiting tropical reefs, some possess an additional layer of defense in the form of toxins. In these species, the spines themselves contain venom capable of causing intense pain or irritation when they penetrate the skin of a predator. The venom may not always be lethal, but its effects can be strong enough to discourage further attacks. For animals that rely on touch to investigate potential prey, such as certain fish or octopuses, these toxic spines deliver an immediate and memorable warning. A predator that experiences the sting of a venomous urchin may quickly learn to avoid similar shapes in the future. While the defensive features of sea urchins are impressive, their role within reef ecosystems extends far beyond protection. These animals are among the most important herbivores on coral reefs, feeding primarily on algae that grow across the surfaces of rocks and coral skeletons. Using specialized mouthparts known as Aristotle's lantern, the urchin scrapes algae from the substrate with remarkable efficiency. This feeding activity plays a critical role in maintaining the health of coral reefs. Without herbivores to control algae growth, these fast-growing plants can quickly overtake coral colonies, blocking sunlight and preventing young corals from establishing themselves. By grazing constantly across the reef surface, sea urchins help maintain the delicate balance between coral and algae that defines a thriving reef ecosystem. However, this grazing behavior can also have dramatic consequences when urchin populations grow too large. In some regions, outbreaks of sea urchins have stripped reefs of nearly all algal cover, leaving behind bare rock surfaces known as urchin barrens. These barren landscapes support far fewer species than healthy reefs, illustrating how even beneficial herbivores can reshape ecosystems when their numbers shift dramatically. The impact of sea urchin grazing demonstrates the interconnected nature of reef ecology. Predators that feed on urchins indirectly influence algae growth and coral health by controlling urchin populations. When predator numbers decline due to overfishing or environmental change, urchin populations may increase unchecked, altering the balance of the entire ecosystem. Returning to the cluster of urchins on the reef flat, the animals appear almost motionless at first glance. Yet subtle movements reveal a quiet complexity beneath the surface. Tiny tube feet extend between the spines, gripping the rock and allowing the urchin to move slowly across the substrate. These tube feet operate through a hydraulic system powered by seawater pressure, enabling the animal to adjust its position in response to food availability or environmental changes. Occasionally, a spine breaks or becomes damaged through contact with predators or shifting debris. For many animals, such injuries would represent a serious threat, but sea urchins possess an impressive capacity for regeneration. New spines begin to grow from specialized tissues at the base of the damaged structures, gradually restoring the defensive barrier that protects the animal's body. This ability to regenerate spines ensures that the urchin's armor remains effective even after repeated encounters with predators or environmental stress. Over time, damaged spines are replaced with new ones, maintaining the integrity of the animal's protective system. As afternoon sunlight begins to fade and shadows stretch across the reef, the activity of the ecosystem subtly shifts. Nocturnal predators emerge from hidden crevices, while day-active fish retreat to sheltered sleeping spots among the coral branches. Through all these changes, the sea urchins remain in place, their spines forming a quiet yet formidable presence across the reef surface. Within these small, armored bodies lies a strategy that has endured for hundreds of millions of years. By combining rigid skeletal protection, mobile spines, microscopic defensive claws, and in some cases toxic deterrents, sea urchins have carved out a stable ecological role within one of the most competitive environments on Earth. Their grazing shapes the growth of algae, their presence influences predator behavior, and their armor demonstrates the remarkable ways evolution can transform vulnerability into resilience. Beneath the clear tropical water, where every organism must find its own method of survival, the sea urchin stands as a testament to the power of defense in the ongoing story of life on the reef. Low tide exposes a maze of tidal channels carved into a rocky shoreline where the sea breathes in slow, rhythmic pulses. Pools of trapped seawater shimmer beneath the sun, each one forming a miniature world filled with algae, anemones, and scattered shells left behind by retreating waves. The water is shallow and clear, revealing the restless movements of creatures that spend their lives in the narrow border between land and ocean. Snails creep slowly across the rock surface, grazing on thin films of algae, while small fish dart through submerged crevices, searching for shelter from the bright daylight above. Beneath this calm appearance, however, the tidal zone is a battlefield defined by armor and force, a place where survival often depends on the strength of a single pair of claws. A shadow shifts beneath a ledge of limestone, followed by a sudden burst of motion as a crab emerges from its hiding place. Its body is compact and flattened, protected by a hard carapace that glints faintly in the filtered sunlight. 8 walking legs carry it sideways across the rock with remarkable speed, but the true focus of attention lies at the front of the animal's body, where 2 massive claws extend outward like mechanical tools. These claws are not delicate appendages meant for gentle handling. They are biological crushers designed to break the shells of some of the toughest animals in the marine environment. The evolutionary success of crabs depends heavily on these claws. Known scientifically as chelae, the claws function as multi-purpose instruments capable of cutting, gripping, manipulating objects, and delivering crushing force. Their structure resembles a pair of articulated pincers, each composed of 2 segments that close together with enormous strength when powerful muscles contract within the limb. To appreciate the importance of this adaptation, it is necessary to consider the nature of the prey available in the tidal ecosystem. Many of the animals inhabiting rocky shores and shallow coastal habitats rely on shells for protection. Mollusks, such as clams, mussels, and snails, possess hardened exteriors formed from calcium carbonate, structures that serve as shields against predators. These shells can be remarkably strong relative to the size of the animal inside them. For predators attempting to feed on such creatures, simply biting through the shell is often impossible. Crabs have solved this challenge through mechanical force. The closing muscles within their claws are capable of generating extraordinary pressure, concentrated at the tips where the 2 segments meet. When the claw snaps shut around a shell, the force can be strong enough to crack the protective armor of many mollusks. A small snail moves slowly across the rock surface, unaware of the approaching danger. The crab pauses, its stalked eyes swiveling slightly to focus on the prey. Crabs possess compound eyes capable of detecting movement with great sensitivity, allowing them to track potential food sources even in the complex visual environment of the tidal zone. With sudden precision, the crab lunges forward and clamps one claw around the snail's shell. The prey attempts to retract deeper into its spiral home, but the crab adjusts its grip, positioning the shell between the crushing surfaces of its pincer. Muscles contract, and the claw closes with steady pressure. A faint cracking sound follows as the shell fractures under the force. Within moments, the crab begins extracting the soft tissues inside, demonstrating the effectiveness of its biological weapon. The crushing strength of crab claws varies widely among species. Some crabs specialize in breaking the shells of particularly tough prey, developing disproportionately large claws capable of delivering tremendous pressure. In certain species, the claw used for crushing grows significantly larger than its counterpart, creating an asymmetrical design optimized for both force and precision. One claw functions as a heavy-duty crusher, while the other serves as a more delicate tool for manipulating food. This specialization reflects a deeper evolutionary story unfolding along coastlines around the world. Mollusks and crabs have been locked in an evolutionary arms race for millions of years. As crabs evolved stronger claws capable of breaking shells, mollusks responded by developing thicker and more elaborate protective structures. Some snails evolved shells with narrow openings that make it difficult for claws to gain a secure grip. Others developed thicker walls or spines designed to discourage predators. This ongoing cycle of adaptation illustrates one of the most important forces shaping marine evolution. Predators and prey constantly influence each other's development, creating a dynamic balance where improvements in one species drive counter-adaptations in another. The crushing claws of crabs represent a response to the defensive armor of mollusks, while the strengthening of mollusk shells reflects the pressure imposed by crab predation. Yet claws serve purposes beyond shell cracking alone. For crabs living in complex coastal habitats, the ability to manipulate objects with precision is equally valuable. Claws allow the animal to tear apart soft-bodied prey, dig into sediment in search of hidden food, and defend itself against competitors. In crowded environments where multiple crabs may compete for the same resources, these appendages often determine which individuals succeed in securing food. Competition among crabs sometimes leads to aggressive encounters in which individuals raise their claws and posture toward one another. The sight of two crabs facing off with claws extended resembles a ritualized display of strength. While these confrontations occasionally escalate into physical clashes, they often end with one animal retreating after assessing the apparent strength of its opponent. Despite the formidable nature of crab claws, these appendages are not permanent structures. Like many crustaceans, crabs possess the remarkable ability to regenerate lost limbs. If a claw is damaged during a fight or lost while escaping from a predator, specialized tissues at the site of injury begin the process of rebuilding the missing structure. Regeneration occurs gradually across successive molts. As the crab grows and sheds its exoskeleton, new tissues form beneath the protective shell. Over time, the lost claw can regrow to nearly its original size and function, restoring the animal's ability to feed and defend itself. This regenerative capacity provides a significant advantage in the harsh conditions of coastal ecosystems. Encounters with predators, environmental hazards, and territorial disputes can result in injuries that might otherwise prove fatal. By replacing lost limbs, crabs maintain their capacity to survive despite the risks inherent in their environment. As the tide slowly returns to the shoreline, seawater begins filling the channels carved into the rock. With the rising water come new opportunities for feeding. Small fish and drifting organisms carried by the current enter the tidal pools, creating brief bursts of activity among the resident animals. Crabs respond quickly to these changes. Some individuals move toward the edges of the pools where currents bring fresh food. Others remain hidden beneath rocks or within burrows, waiting for the right moment to ambush passing prey. This strategy reflects another important aspect of crab behavior: opportunistic feeding. While many crabs actively hunt live prey, they also function as scavengers within marine ecosystems. Their claws allow them to tear apart dead organisms or abandoned shells, recycling nutrients that might otherwise remain locked within decaying tissues. In this role, crabs serve as important cleaners of coastal environments, contributing to the efficient flow of energy through the food web. A fragment of fish carcass drifts into the tidal pool carried by the incoming wave. Within moments, several crabs emerge from nearby hiding places, drawn by chemical signals released into the water as the tissue begins to break down. Crabs possess highly sensitive chemoreceptors, capable of detecting minute traces of dissolved substances, allowing them to locate food sources even when visibility is poor. The first crab reaches the carcass and clamps its claw around the flesh, tearing away a piece with deliberate force. Other crabs join the feeding event, each using its claws to pull apart the remains. What might appear chaotic from above is actually a complex interaction, governed by competition, timing, and the ability to wield those crushing appendages effectively. The tidal ecosystem gradually settles as the water level rises higher across the rocks. Fish begin to patrol the deeper pools, and the crabs retreat once again to sheltered crevices where they wait for the next opportunity to feed. Their claws remain poised, instruments forged by millions of years of evolutionary pressure. Within the compact body of a crab lies one of the most effective mechanical weapons found among marine invertebrates. These claws combine strength, precision, and adaptability, allowing crabs to break through the defenses of armored prey, manipulate complex food sources, and defend themselves against rivals. Across rocky shores, mangrove forests, coral reefs, and deep ocean habitats, the story repeats itself in countless variations. Wherever crabs live, their crushing claws shape the interactions between predator and prey, influencing the evolution of shells, the behavior of scavengers, and the balance of life along the boundary between land and sea. As twilight approaches, and the last rays of sunlight fade from the tidal pools, the crabs remain hidden beneath their rocky shelters, waiting patiently for the next cycle of tides to begin. In the quiet darkness of the returning sea, their claws stand ready once again to perform the work of survival in a world defined by armor, strength, and relentless adaptation. Morning light spreads slowly across a broad coastal bay, where shallow turquoise water fades into deeper cobalt blue toward the open sea. The surface appears calm from a distance, broken only by small ripples created by wind and the occasional leap of a fish chasing plankton near the surface. Beneath this quiet exterior lies an ecosystem filled with constant motion. Schools of sardines move like drifting clouds through the midwater, while rays glide silently across sandy channels between coral patches. Farther offshore, pelagic predators patrol the deeper water. But within the protected shallows, another kind of hunter dominates the landscape. A curved dorsal fin slices briefly through the surface before disappearing again beneath the water. Moments later, several more fins appear, rising and falling in gentle rhythm as a group of dolphins moves steadily along the edge of the bay. Their bodies glide effortlessly through the water, powered by powerful tail strokes that send subtle pressure waves across the surface. From above, they appear calm and unhurried, but beneath the surface, their behavior is part of one of the most sophisticated hunting strategies in the marine world. Dolphins are predators, but unlike many solitary hunters of the ocean, they rely not only on speed or strength. Their most powerful biological weapon is something far less visible, yet far more complex: social intelligence. Within their pods, dolphins coordinate movements, share information, and develop hunting techniques that transform the entire group into a cooperative force capable of controlling prey on a remarkable scale. The bay begins to reveal subtle signs of this coordinated behavior as the dolphins spread into a loose formation. Several individuals move ahead of the group, diving beneath the surface, while others remain closer to the edges of the school of fish drifting through the water. Sardines shimmer in dense clusters, their silver bodies reflecting sunlight in flashes that ripple through the water like shifting mirrors. At first, the fish seem unaware of the approaching danger. Sardines rely on schooling behavior as a defense against predators, gathering in tightly packed formations where each individual follows the movements of its neighbors. This collective movement can confuse attackers, making it difficult for a predator to isolate a single fish within the swirling mass. Yet dolphins have learned to turn this defense into a weakness. As the group closes in, the dolphins begin forming a wide circle around the school of sardines. Their movements are subtle at first, each dolphin positioning itself carefully to maintain distance from the others while gradually reducing the space available to the fish. The sardines respond instinctively, tightening their formation and shifting direction as the dolphins move around them. What appears from above as a loose gathering of dolphins is in fact a coordinated hunting circle. By surrounding the school and swimming inward with controlled pressure, the dolphins compress the mass of fish into an increasingly dense cluster. The sardines attempt to escape through gaps in the formation, but each opening closes quickly as another dolphin takes position. This strategy relies on communication that extends far beyond simple visual cues. Dolphins produce a wide range of acoustic signals, including whistles, clicks, and pulsed calls. These sounds travel efficiently through water, allowing individuals within the group to maintain contact even when visibility is limited. Echolocation clicks provide detailed information about the location and movement of nearby objects, enabling dolphins to track fish within the dense school. The hunting circle grows tighter. Sardines begin leaping from the water in desperate attempts to escape, creating bursts of splashing across the surface. This chaotic display reveals the growing tension within the trapped school as the dolphins gradually reduce the available space. Then the attack begins. Several dolphins surge through the compressed mass of fish, their bodies twisting with remarkable agility as they snap up sardines in rapid succession. Others remain on the perimeter of the circle, preventing the fish from scattering. Each individual dolphin plays a role within the strategy, demonstrating how cooperation allows the group to achieve what a single hunter could never accomplish alone. The feeding frenzy lasts only moments before the school disperses into scattered survivors. The dolphins regroup calmly, their formation relaxing as they move through the water together once again. For them, the event represents not merely a successful hunt, but also a demonstration of social coordination refined through generations of shared experience. Yet cooperative hunting circles represent only one example of the dolphin's remarkable intelligence. In certain coastal regions, another hunting behavior unfolds in environments shaped by mud, sand, and tidal currents. Here, the water is shallower and clouded with suspended sediment, making visual detection of prey more difficult. Within such habitats, dolphins have developed a technique known as mud ring feeding. A single dolphin begins the process by swimming rapidly along the bottom in a tight circular path. As the dolphin's tail beats against the sediment, it kicks up a plume of mud that rises into the water column. The circular motion gradually forms a ring of suspended sediment surrounding a small patch of water. Inside the ring, fish react with confusion and panic. The rising wall of mud appears to them as a physical barrier, and their instinctive response is to flee upward rather than swim through the murky cloud. This moment of confusion is precisely what the dolphins are waiting for. As fish leap from the water to escape the muddy enclosure, other dolphins positioned around the ring intercept them with astonishing precision. The entire event unfolds in seconds, yet it represents a coordinated strategy requiring timing, communication, and shared understanding among the members of the group. Mud ring feeding demonstrates how dolphins use environmental features as tools within their hunting strategies. Instead of relying solely on physical pursuit, they manipulate the behavior of prey by shaping the environment itself. Perhaps even more remarkable is the discovery that some dolphins employ actual tools while foraging along the seafloor. In certain populations inhabiting shallow coastal regions, researchers have observed dolphins carrying marine sponges on the tips of their snouts while searching for food. The behavior initially puzzled observers until its purpose became clear. The sea floor in these habitats contains numerous sharp shells, fragments of coral, and hidden spines belonging to invertebrates buried within the sediment. When dolphins probe the bottom in search of fish hiding beneath the sand, these hazards can injure the sensitive tissues of their snouts. By placing a sponge over the rostrum, the dolphin creates a protective barrier that allows it to dig into the sediment safely. The sponge acts as a cushion, preventing cuts and abrasions, while the dolphin disturbs the sand in search of hidden prey. This behavior represents a rare example of tool use among marine animals. Even more intriguing is the way it spreads through dolphin populations. Young dolphins often learn the technique by observing their mothers, gradually adopting the behavior as they mature. Such cultural transmission demonstrates how knowledge can pass from one generation to the next within dolphin societies. Communication plays a central role in maintaining these complex social structures. Dolphins produce unique signature whistles that function much like individual names. Each dolphin develops its own distinctive whistle early in life, allowing other members of the group to identify and address it acoustically. When dolphins become separated, these whistles help individuals locate one another across considerable distances. Pods maintain cohesion through constant acoustic exchanges that reinforce social bonds and coordinate movements during hunting or travel. Beyond whistles, dolphins also produce a variety of burst pulses and clicks that convey different types of information. Some signals appear to function as instructions during cooperative hunts, guiding the positions of individuals within the group. Others may serve as expressions of emotional states, reinforcing relationships among pod members. The intelligence required to manage such communication systems reflects the complexity of the dolphin brain. Compared to many other animals, dolphins possess highly developed cerebral structures associated with problem-solving, memory, and social cognition. Their brains exhibit a level of folding and organization comparable to that seen in primates, suggesting advanced processing capabilities. As the day progresses, the pod of dolphins continues moving along the coastline. Occasionally, individuals leap clear of the water in graceful arcs, their bodies twisting briefly in the sunlight before returning to the sea. These leaps may serve multiple purposes, including communication, parasite removal, or simple play within the group. Play behavior itself represents another sign of dolphin intelligence. Young dolphins frequently chase one another through the water, ride the pressure waves created by boats or larger animals, and manipulate objects such as seaweed. These activities may appear recreational, Yet they also help young dolphins develop the coordination and social skills required for adult life. Late in the afternoon, the dolphins approach deeper water, where currents from the open ocean bring fresh schools of fish into the bay. The pod spreads out once again, scanning the water with echolocation clicks that reveal hidden shapes within the blue depths. Within this group of sleek marine mammals lies one of the most powerful weapons found in the ocean, a mind capable of cooperation, innovation, and communication. Through shared intelligence, dolphins transform simple hunting into coordinated strategy, shaping the behavior of entire schools of fish and manipulating the environment itself to their advantage. In the vast complexity of marine ecosystems, many predators rely on speed, venom, or physical strength. Dolphins demonstrate another path to survival, one built on social bonds and collective knowledge. As the sun lowers toward the horizon and the water darkens with evening shadows, the pod disappears gradually into deeper water, leaving behind only ripples on the surface and the quiet evidence of intelligence moving beneath the waves.